Good afternoon, everyone. So in my last class, we were discussing about how to look at the syllabus of GS paper 1 of optional. And I have also said about what is the overlapping component of this paper as far as general studies is considered. Right. So yesterday I was telling these are the books that we have to study as far as the first topic is considered, first paper, the Hindu political science. And then see, this is the one. Someone is asking whether we can read Telugu Academy books of this. Yeah, Telugu Academy, you have one book, Western Political Thought. This is the one that I was speaking. Yesterday someone has asked me, this is the book that I was referring. One of the simple way to understand the last chapter, Western Political Thought, in a very lucid manner they have written. So you can prefer this as a starting point if you want to read. Right. Then intermediate book, Political Science for Civics. So this is another book that can be used for political theory component. Some basics of political theory like justice, equality was written here. So in this place, if you want to go ahead with it, you have these two. One is the degree book, the second one is this. Both are really good. They have given in a very lucid manner. This book is also really good. This is also in a lucid manner. So this is the one that I was speaking about yesterday. Western Political Thought, one of the finest books that is available in the market. You can purchase it and you can read it. Very lucid manner of preparation. This is the first thing that I wanted to say. The rest of the things, as I have said yesterday itself, these are the reference sources. So if you go for the advanced source, the first source starts with this, An Introduction to Political Theory by O.P. Gauba. This is for chapter 1 to chapter 8, before your Western Political Thought, whatever it is present up to political ideologies. This is one of the best book. Political theory, he has discussed in detail. Again, in the high standard books, this is one lucid book that you can read. Then as we go one by one, the standard of the book is increasing, the language becomes complex, but still they have some vital things. This is about political theory. Again, a reiteration of these things will be there. So you can prefer this after completion of this if you want. Next one for political ideologies, the 7th chapter or 8th chapter that you have. This is Political Ideologies, an introduction by Andrew Haywood. The same person has written a book on political theory. So these three books carries political theory. So better to go with that. And political ideologies is a separate concept, whereas Indian political thought, you have this book by MP Singh and Himanshu Rai. Right. This will be helpful for your modern Indian history also if you want to write about some Indian political thinkers. So this is not that much useful. Only two thinkers are important here. 50 major political thinkers. Machiavelli is the person who is explained in detail. After that, some thoughts of Hannah Arendt are also written in this book. So this is the point that I have covered. So you can refer this. However, our class notes is going to be the major things before starting this. So this is first section A, first paper work discuss chesam. I hope everyone has the syllabus paper. So let's continue from this point. So we are discussing about how to look at the syllabus of this and how we have to prepare in a systematic manner. That is the topic of discussion. So we'll be dealing with section B, paper 1. Section B, paper 1. Now this speaks about Indian government and politics. Indian government and politics. You can divide this section into 3 segments. I said section B is nothing but the application part of section A. Application part of section A. Whatever the theories that were there, we have that resonance in section B. Right? In both papers, paper 1 and paper 2, you have section A as theory. Section B, you find application orientation. So application orientation part is this here. So IGP is application of section A, that is science is applied here. So again, this can be divided into 3 segments. This can be divided into 3 segments. The first one is, they start with the last phase of freedom movement, that is during the Gandhian phase, how we have got independence. Now why they have started here? They have started here because until medieval period of India, You do not have constitutionalism. It is only with the advent of the British we had been introduced to this term that is called constitution and the philosophy of constitution. Though the Britishers have ruled this country for more than 250 years, it was in the last 50 years of their rule that the rule of law started imbibing into the country. That is, in the year 1885, after Indian National Congress was established, that we will study in modern Indian history. After this Indian national history was established, slowly the concepts of rule of law started emerging. Slowly the concepts of rule of law started emerging, and there has been some discussion about participation in elections. There has been discussions about legislations. These things were prominent in the national discourse or national freedom discourse. As a result, if you look at the laws that were made by the British from 1909, right, Britishers are making these laws from 1773 Charter Act. So 1773 they made 1793, 1813, 1833, 1853, 58, 63, and then they came to 1892. Until this 1892, the first 100 years, though they have made the laws, these laws were highly confined to the British administration or East India Company's administration. Only with the Councils Act that was present in the year 1862, subsequently on 1892, there was huge discussion among the Indians that we have to participate in this governance. So more or less, the concept of rule of law to this country was introduced way back in the year 1892. That is the starting phase. And that is the area where there was a transition in administration. There was a transition in administration. Up to that time, right from the evolution of this history of India, we have the first kingdom in Mauryas. Right from the Mauryas until the so-called British in the year 1892, we do not have this concept of nationalism, or we do not have this concept of the so-called rule of law. ఎప్పుడైతే వీళ్ళు వచ్చేసి మనల్ని అడ్మినిస్టర్ చేశారో దెన్ వీ పీపుల్ స్టార్టెడ్ లుకింగ్ అట్ దెమ్ అండ్ వీ స్టార్టెడ్ డిమాండింగ్ ఫర్ దెమ్. సో దట్ వాస్ ద లాస్ట్ ఫేజ్ ఆఫ్ బ్రిటిషర్స్ వేర్ వీ స్టార్టెడ్ డిపెండింగ్ అవర్ this thing that is called we should have our own constitution. So that is the reason, rather than directly entering into Indian government and politics, the government of India is framed on the constitutional philosophy. So as it is framed on the constitutional philosophy, they started discussing at what place in Indian history we have started this constitutionalism or the demands for constitutionalism. It was the last phase. So that is the thing they started here. Political strategies of Indian freedom struggle. So what was the major demand of our people and how we have asked for this, the so-called independence, and how constitution has played a very crucial role, or how the demand of constitution has started. So demand of the constitution was started as a part of freedom struggle itself, as a part of freedom struggle itself. So they have started here. Constitutionalism to mass satyagraha, non-cooperation, civil disobedience, military and revolutionary movement, peasant movements and worker movements. If you observe these movements, there were some strategies that were adapted. There were strategies that they have adapted. The strategies of Gandhiism, the strategies of liberalism, the strategies of Marxism, the strategies of fascism were applied in these areas. Right? If you look at constitutional to mass satyagraha means a peace movement of Gandhiism. Non-cooperation is not obeying the laws, going against the government. Civil disobedience, it is again not obeying the civil laws of the government. Militant and revolutionary movements is just like the world history, fascism, we wanted to adapt the same thing. Peasant movements and workers movements, this is subaltern section movements. So whatever the ideology that is there, these ideologies have played a very crucial role in making us to get independence. That is the way in which we have struggled. Kanuka ee vidhanga manam ee perception lo chudochu. Political strategies, which strategy at the global level has influenced our Indian national movement, that is the thing that they have given. So more or less all these things, constitution, mass satyagraha, non-cooperation, civil disobedience, these are all reiterative points in modern Indian history, right? If you look at Indian history from 1890s to 1947, more or less you'll find them. So the same concept is repeated in modern history of India. Now this is one extra point. Perspectives of Indian national movement. Now what is this? How people has visualized our movement from various perspectives, how liberalists have confined our Indian national movement. So after getting freedom, people started commenting on this independence of the country. Some people viewed it in one perspective, other people viewed it in other perspective. So liberals said that it is for the rights of the individual that they have fought. Socialists said that they wanted to have this nationalism, as a result they have fought. Marxists say that this is the fight of the so-called the workers against the so-called bonus, that is called colonial rulers. So radical humanists and Dalits say that this is subaltern sections who have revolted against the so-called Britishers. ఎవరి పర్సెప్షన్ వాళ్ళది. ఫ్రీడమ్ వచ్చిన తర్వాత వీరు దీనికోసం ఫైట్ చేశారని ఒకరు చెప్తే వీరు దీనికోసం ఫైట్ చేశారని వీరు చెప్తారు. సో దిస్ ఈజ్ something which is entirely political theory component and application of that. So whatever the ideologies that you study in the top, that ideologies nunchi movement ni ee vidhanga perceive cheyochu, how you can visualize that movement through these ideologies they have visualized. Independence వచ్చిన తర్వాత అరే దీనికి ఇండిపెండెన్స్ వచ్చిందనేసి they started commenting on each and everything. Each people have given their own perspective. So this is something which is extremely political science related. So you do not have this in any GS papers, but this you have in GS paper 1. So this is the first segment of paper 2, section B, paper 1. First segment. So first segment is getting freedom, these things. So that is related to this component that is called modern Indian history. This can be used in prelims as well as mains. In prelims they are asking questions, in mains they are asking. Modern Indian history lo prelims paina questions unnayi deentlo. Along with this, in the mains you have major events of India and Indian independent movement. So they have this thing in mains also. This is entirely political science, leave it. From here the basic constitution starts. Here the basic constitution, if you know this Lakshmikant, they have started here itself. So constitutionalism is from 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 until 7 you speak about constitutionalism. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is about constitution or polity. They speak about the so-called how this polity is organized. Here we have to know all the articles. Asal Rajyangam ante emiti, how this constitution has evolved, ee Rajyangam ela udbhavinchindi, how Britishers have played a very crucial role in imbibing these constitutional values, and how we have framed the constitution. Here we have to go in depth. What are the debates that was done in constitution while they are forming major chapters, right? So why these articles were that much debated. Then we should know from article 1 to article 395 how this system was organized. Then they will say how parliament system works, how government works, or how government is administered. So this is the thing. So from here 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is entirely your polity. Which speaks about the evolutionary stage to article 395 of Indian Constitution. Article 395 వరకు మాట్లాడుకుంటూ వస్తుంది. Apart from that, what they will ask is how this constitution is being functioned in the country, how we see this constitution is working. In the last 70 years, what are the ups and downs in these articles 395? All these articles, there will be some major articles such as parliament, such as fundamental rights, DPSPs, preamble, amendments, judicial review. They have taken some major aspects and they will ask the dynamic questions here. They will ask the dynamic questions. What do I mean by dynamic questions? The questions which are relatively important for day-to-day current affairs. The questions which are important for day-to-day current affairs, they will be asking this. So this is the dynamism where you can involve huge dynamic answers can be written. చాలా ఎక్కువ స్కోప్ ఉంటుంది. ద ఓన్లీ థింగ్ దట్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు ఫాలో ఈజ్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు ఫాలో 1 or 2 మ్యాగజైన్స్. ఒకటి వచ్చేసి హిందీ న్యూస్ పేపర్. ఇఫ్ యూ ఆర్ ఫాలోయింగ్ ఫ్రంట్ లైన్ ఫర్ దిస్ యూ విల్ బీ హ్యావింగ్ గుడ్ అమౌంట్ ఆఫ్ ఆన్సర్స్. Good amount of answers will be ready with us. So this is entirely GS paper 2, and by studying this your polity preparation for prelims is over. Prelims ki sambandhinchinaటువంటి polity anta ikkade complete అయిపోతుంది. No need to study again. The only thing that you have to do is after studying here you have to look at prelims previous year questions and you have to synchronize it with the mains also of GS paper 2. అంతే, ఏం లేదు. పాలిటీ ప్రిలిమ్స్ విల్ బి కంప్లీటెడ్ ఇన్ దిస్ 7 చాప్టర్స్, ఆర్టికల్ 1 టు ఆర్టికల్ 375. సో హియర్ వాట్ వీ హ్యావ్ టు హ్యావ్, వీ షుడ్ నో ఆల్ ద ఆర్టికల్స్, ఎలా ఫ్రేమ్ చేశారు, వాట్ ఈస్ ద స్ట్రక్చర్, వై దే హ్యావ్ డిజైన్డ్ దిస్ స్ట్రక్చర్, రైట్, ఎవ్రీథింగ్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు నో. అండ్ ఎవ్రీ article in the constitution is, what is article? We call it as articles. What is articles? Articles are the matters that were articulated after huge discussion. Articles and endukantam because they are articulated principles. They have been discussed for many days and then they have written. Otherwise, whenever you are making a law, in law you call it as sections, you don't call it as articles. Rajyangam koste articles antam, laws kelte sections antam. What is the difference between an article and section? Section is nothing but writing a code in a sequential manner. That's it. They will be preparing some rules and they will be writing in a sequential manner. The in-detail discussion would not have happened in each and every section. But in articles or in a constitution, all these 395 articles, all these 395, whatever they have given, everything is articulated. Articulated means a deep discussion has happened in the constitution assembly debates, and that is the reason they have taken almost 2 years, 11 months and 27 days to complete this discussion. ఎందుకు అన్ని రోజులు తీసుకున్నారు? We have took almost 3 years for the discussion. Why? Every matter was discussed. ఫండమెంటల్ రైట్స్ పెట్టేటప్పుడు పెట్టాలా లేదా? ఏ ఫండమెంటల్ రైట్స్ పెట్టాలి? DPSPs అవసరమా? లోకల్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషనల్ బాడీస్ని మనం పెట్టాలా వద్దా? దీనిపైన డిస్కషన్ ఎలా జరిగింది, తర్వాత ఎలా దాన్ని తీసుకొని వచ్చారు. ఎవ్రీథింగ్ వాజ్ ఆర్టికులేటెడ్ ఇన్ ద కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ అసెంబ్లీ. ఇట్ ఈస్ లైక్ ఓపెనింగ్ ద బ్రెయిన్స్ ఆఫ్ ద అసెంబ్లీ మేకర్స్ సో దట్ వి విల్ అండర్స్టాండ్ ఇన్ డీటెయిల్ అండర్స్టాండింగ్ ఆఫ్ అబౌట్ ఈచ్ అండ్ ఎవ్రీథింగ్. వాట్ ఈస్ దేర్ పర్సెప్షన్ అబౌట్ దిస్. దిస్ హెల్ప్స్ us to go in depth and study about how these persons have visualized our constitution. ప్రతి ఆర్టికల్ని ఏ విధంగా విజువలైజ్ చేశారు. రైట్. సో దిస్ ఈస్ హౌ దే వర్ ఫ్రేమ్డ్. అండ్ ఇన్ పాలిటీ we have to go to that extent. We have to go to that extent. So the basic thing that I expect our students is we should have a basic knowledge about the entire constitution. ఒక 395 articles ఉంటాయి. ఏ ఆర్టికల్ ఎక్కడ ఏం మాట్లాడుతుంది అనేసి మినిమం అండర్స్టాండింగ్ ఉండాలి. And in prelims, look at all the questions that they are asking. 95% or 90% of the questions in prelims will be directly from the Bare Act. Bare Act మనకి చేతుల్లో ఉంటే అయిపోయింది. ప్రిలిమ్స్లో పాలిటీ క్వశ్చన్స్ అన్నీ చేసి రాగలం. నాట్ ఓన్లీ ఇన్ యూపీఎస్సీ, ఈవెన్ ఇన్ ఎనీ స్టేట్ పబ్లిక్ సర్వీస్ కమిషన్ యూ కెన్ గెట్ ఇట్. దిస్ ఈజ్ అడ్వాంటేజ్ దట్ యు ఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు గెట్ హియర్. దిస్ ఈజ్ అడ్వాంటేజ్ దట్ యు ఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు గెట్ హియర్. సో దట్ ఈస్ ద రీజన్ దట్ దే హ్యావ్ గివెన్ salient features of Indian Constitution. You know this. Constitution starts with the preamble, then you have Article 1, Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. They have given in this way. Fundamental rights, fundamental duties, DPSPs, parliamentary system, amendments, judicial review, basic structure doctrine, then principal organs of the union government and state governments. A comparative analysis was given. In the union government you have union executive, union legislature and union judiciary, or you have integrated judiciary. Similarly in the states you have state executive and state legislature. So first what they will discuss up to first 5 parts. They will discuss about what is this country, why this constitution, who are citizens, what is the jurisdiction of this country, what are the rights of the citizens, what are the duties of the citizens, what are the directive principles of state policy. సో ఇవన్నీ కూడా ఫస్ట్ రాజ్యాంగాన్ని అనుసరిస్తూ ఇక్కడ ప్రిన్సిపల్స్ అప్లై చేస్తున్నాం కాబట్టి ఎక్కడి వరకు అప్లై చేయాలనేసి దే విల్ డిస్కస్. From part 5, they will discuss about how administration is present in the country in the Indian Constitution. Part 5, Part 6, Part 7, Part 8, Part 9, Part 10. They speak about federal system of administration. In the federal system of administration, you have union government. Whenever you have union government, there are 3 organs of union government: the union legislature, the union executive, the union judiciary. However, in India, you have integrated judiciary. As a result, you call it as Supreme Court rather than calling it as union judiciary. యూనియన్కి సపరేట్గా ఒక జ్యుడిషియరీ ఉండదు కాబట్టి దాన్ని సుప్రీంకోర్టు అంటాం. స్టేట్ జ్యుడిషియరీ అన్నాం, హైకోర్ట్స్ అంటాం. బికాజ్ సుప్రీం కోర్ట్ అండ్ హైకోర్ట్ ఆర్ కంప్లీట్ టుగెదర్, దే ఆర్ ఇంటిగ్రేటెడ్. But when it comes to the state legislature, we will call it as separately state legislature. When it comes to the state executive, you call it as separately state executive. So this is federal system of administration. This is federal system of administration that was given in your part 5 and part 6 of Indian Constitution. Part 7 they have abolished. Part 8, Part 9, Part 10 speaks about what? It speaks about union territories. They speak about panchayats, municipalities and local bodies, and administration of scheduled areas and scheduled tribes. This is what the administrative structure that we have. So these things will be discussed here. All this grassroots level democracy, Part 9 of Indian Constitution, panchayats, municipalities and the so-called cooperative societies. After this, from Part 11, Part 12, Part 13, what they speak? They speak about, yes, I have 2 structures of government. One is at the center, the second one is at the state. Now, whenever you have two centers of power, obviously what happens, there will be a conflict between these entities. There will be a conflict saying this, the power belongs to me. If there are two centers of power, there will be always a struggle between these two centers of power, saying that one power will claim that the power belongs to them, the other power says that the power belongs to them. Revanth Reddy ఏమంటాడు, ఈ పవర్ నాది అంటాడు, నరేంద్ర మోడీ కాదు ఇది నాది అంటాడు. But then who has to resolve it? Constitution said, don't worry, we are writing this big constitution, we ourselves will say what is your jurisdiction, what is your jurisdiction. As a result, they have added extra 3 parts, part 11, part 12, part 13, where they have demarcated our rights. They have said, this is your executive function, this is my executive function, this is your legislative function, this is my legislative function, this is your financial function, this is my financial function. That was said. Then the constitution did not stop there. What they went ahead and they have given some statutory institution and constitutional institutions. They have given some institutions. UPSC, Election Commission, NCSC, NCST, NCOBC. What are all these commissions? Okay, you have 3 organs of government, but the constitution also says that these 3 organs of government should not exceed their power at a given point of time. If they are exceeding at their power, then that becomes into a monarchical form of government. But in rule of law, everyone has to be checked. There has to be a checks and balance on each and every one. How to check and balance? For that they are creating this checks and balancing institutions. What are these? They are checks and balancing institution. Look at Election Commission. What Election Commission does? It controls the legislative component here and here. This is a checks and balancing institutions on legislature, be it parliament or state legislature. COG, Finance Commission, checks and balancing institutions of your finances in the country. Then you have UPSC, Union Public Service Commission. This is a checks and balancing institution on the executive. How to the executive have to be bought in. Then you have NCSC, NCST, OBC. They have not added here, but that is also a new thing that was added. NCOBC, National Commission for BCs. So what are these? Again, these are checks and balancing institutions saying that I have to protect the minorities also. For minority rights, I am giving this. Then they have framed some statutory organizations. Then they have framed their statutory organizations. Here we have to look at what are various statutory organizations, how that is formed. The same thing was there in GS paper 2. In GS paper 2 you find it, in prelims you find them. So these are all the components which are present here. This is what I said, federalism, part 10, part 11, part 12, part 13. Constitutional provisions for federalism, changing nature of center-state relations, integrationist tendencies, regional aspirations, interstate disputes. Now look at these 3. These 3 are also covered in GS paper 3, internal security. And GS paper 1 you have regionalism. Right. So GS paper 1 social in society you have one topic here. In GS paper 3 internal security you have these topics. Right. So these are present. How to resolve these disputes? So this is federalism directly GS paper 2 and it is linked with internal security concepts. Until here this is one model. They are speaking about how this constitution was framed and how we have to look. After this they didn't stop here. They went into the next MLAD, that is called planning and economic development. So they have introduced some aspects of how this government has been functioning with our constitution. So constitution చేసినంత మాత్రాన మొత్తం జరిగిందా అంటే కాదు. There are some major reforms that has happened in India and majority of the governments have went with this Nehruvian model. How that is differing from Gandhian model, whether we have developed it or not. ఈ రాజ్యాంగం చేసిన తర్వాత మనం డెవలప్ అయ్యామా లేదా, that was the question. For that they have given this planning and economic development. Planning and economic development. Again look at this, Nehruvian perspective of plan, Gandhian perspective of plan, Nehruvian concept of economy, Gandhian perspective of economy. What these people have said and whether whose model has worked for the country. In India we have followed the so-called Nehruvian model of command economy, whether that model has worked. If we have followed Gandhian model, what would have been the difference? This is the concept that they have discussed. Role of planning, role of public sector. role of planning and role of public sector, both are the models of Nehru. Both are the models of Pandit Nehru. Next, Green Revolution. Indira Gandhi has come. Land reforms is a part of Green Revolution, or land reforms, one part is Green Revolution. Liberalization 1991. So they are studying this country from 1947 to 1991, and after 1991 what has happened to this country. This is what the discussion is. సో ఇండిపెండెన్స్ తర్వాత మనం రాజ్యాంగం అమలు పరిచాము. ఈ రాజ్యాంగం వల్ల మనకి పాజిటివ్స్ జరిగాయా, పాజిటివ్ జరగలేదా, పాజిటివ్ జరిగింటే ఏ మోడల్లో జరిగాయి. దిస్ ఈజ్ వాట్ దే హ్యావ్ గివెన్. Then they spoke about what is the major element that is determining the political sphere in the country. What is the major thing which is discussing the political theaters of this country. So this speaks about identities. Someone will be identifying based on their caste, someone will be identifying based on their religion, someone will be identifying based on their ethnicity. How these things are influencing our polity. How these things are influencing our polity. What is the attitude of the people towards this? Whether when you are voting or when you are exercising your vote, how this is playing a very crucial role. So we have to understand what is the caste segment of this country. Caste will study in Indian society, GS paper 1. So these things are salient features of Indian societies. The salient features of Indian society themselves are acting as a crucial role in determining the polity of this country. And how that they have determined. For that we have to analyze how Indian politics were influenced by them. We have to study how over a period of time religion has played in our politics. We had 18th Lok Sabha elections recently. మరి ఫస్ట్ లోక్సభ నుంచి 18th లోక్సభ వరకు ఎంతవరకు రిలీజియన్ ప్లే చేసింది, ఎంతవరకు కాస్ట్ ప్లే చేసింది, ఎంతవరకు ఎథ్నిసిటీ ప్లే చేసింది, ఇలా రిలీజియన్ని నమ్ముకున్న వాళ్ళు ఎంతమంది విన్ అయ్యారు, కాస్ట్ని నమ్ముకున్న వాళ్ళు ఎంతమంది విన్ అయ్యారు. యూ హ్యావ్ టు స్టడీ దిస్ త్రూ అవుట్ ద కంట్రీ. Then you will get an idea how exactly these identities are influencing politics. And now, not only that, how the political parties are using them in their election manifestos. That you have to understand. Okay, proof anedi vastundi. Conclusive evidence will come if you follow from first Lok Sabha elections until the 18th Lok Sabha election. Then, based on this, the political parties will be framing their identities. ఏ గ్రూప్ని ఎలా ఇన్ఫ్లుయెన్స్ చేయాలి. అవర్ పాలసీ మేకింగ్ విల్ బి టు విన్ ద politics. Our politicians, what they do, they try to capture them. They try to capture them depending on it. So it is said that the latest 18th Lok Sabha elections has not given that much importance to the issues of religion or caste. They have spoken on the developmental lines. That is what in the latest elections that they have observed. Why? In a country like India, where Ram Mandir was constructed, BJP losing in Ayodhya itself shows that religion has played a very less role in these elections compared to the previous two elections. Everyone thought that BJP government is going to win more than 400 seats, or NDA government is going to win more than 400. That is what Prime Minister Narendra Modi has claimed, but something has happened here. So when Prime Minister Narendra Modi is coming and he is giving this statement that we are going to cross 400 mark, it is an indication that they are very confident that we have constructed these things and the religious communities are with us. Hence, they thought that we are going to cross. But that is not the thing. That has worked in the last two elections. 17th Lok Sabha elections, 16th Lok Sabha elections, they have seen this. But in the 18th Lok Sabha, this is not the thing that has happened. So this shows that there is some changing tendencies of the people. Now people are vexed up with this issue. How many days they will speak about Ram Temple? They want food. They want employment. They want removal of poverty. They want inclusive growth. These are the elements that the government has completely neglected. As a result, they got this. That was the comment that was made by these politicians this time. The major political thinkers, they have studied this 18th Lok Sabha elections and they said that we have moved ahead. This is one good indication for the country. This is a very good indication for the country. Now, based on this, how the next governments are going to frame their policies, how oppositions are going to frame their policies. So this is what we have to write. Caste, religion and ethnicity. Whenever they ask, we should not stop with the last time. Caste is playing a role. Yes, how this has played in the latest elections. How that has placed in the latest, the so-called by-polls that was conducted by Election Commission, where opposition has won in majority of the seats. So this is an indication. This is an indication for that. So once we study this, we study how the social elements of the country are influencing this politics. Now we will have different groups. Caste-based groups will be there, community-based groups will be there, religious-based groups will be there, ethnicity-based groups will be there, there will be farmers group, there will be workers groups, there will be students groups. In order to win their point, in order to win them or in order to get that influence in the politics, these politicians make a deal with them. That is called pressure groups. Pressure groups form one impact on this politics. Who is a pressure group? This is a pressure group. This is a pressure group. This is a pressure group. Like this, you have many pressure groups which try to influence the politics. Which try to influence politics. Best examples, the farmers' revolts. The farming community in Punjab and Haryana has not voted to the BJP government, and that was an indication that the pressure groups had huge impact on Indian politics. Hence, whenever the government is framing a policy, they have to consult these pressure groups. They will pressurize the government to do their work. Without consulting the farmers, if you are implementing the so-called I have law, without consulting the so-called farmers, if you say that I have legislative power and I make the law, if people are not liking it, they will form into a group and they will show these things. This identity will be shown in your politics. This is what this is spoken. So one question definitely they will ask, we have to write with the latest ones. Once we include with the latest ones, that our answer is going to be a very substantiative answer. So, no, that doesn't end there. So this is, now look at here. So until 8th chapter, you can consider them as one. Or until 7th chapter, you can consider it as one. First chapter is separate, second chapter is separate. At least from 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can consider it as pure polity. Then from 8th chapter, how this polity is functioning and how this politics is getting influenced. 9, 10, 11 speaks about how politics are getting influenced. So 10th chapter speaks about the same thing. Party system, national parties and regional parties, how they are formed, how they are creating an impact. And then we have to study with the latest segment. Look at 16th, 15th, 18th Lok Sabha elections and how regional parties has dominated, whether they have any role in the central government in the 16th and 17th, but this time in the 18th Lok Sabha, it was very clear that the ruling government, if they want to sustain, they have to go with the regional players. The role of Andhra Pradesh and Andhra Pradesh and Bihar is extremely important for the NDA government to stand. So here, regional parties impact the national parties, subsequently national parties impact regional parties. So we have to study how this fellow is impacting him, how this fellow is impacting him. At what times they have become a strong centralized force, at what time they were depending on these regional forces. These things has to be analyzed in the party systems. These things has to be analyzed in the party systems. Now, not only that, if you are dependent on the regional parties, how our federal relations are going to be? How our federal relations are going to be? You have to link from here to here. Right, if the central government is having, if BJP government is having all the power without depending on regional forces, obviously there will be no good center-state relations. The central will be concentrating all the power. Now, if they are depending on the regional players, obviously there will be a change in the center-state relations. There will be a change in the center-state relations. 2 days back, they have given an article speaking about Finance Commission this time has to take care of inter-regional disparities in the states which are backward. Which means they are speaking that central government has to give more money irrespective of whether they are belonging to the same party or not. So this is the text. This is the text. So this is going to influence your federal relations, national and regional parties. The second question is whether caste, religion and identity is the only thing or ethnicity is the only thing which is influencing the policies of the government or which is influencing the electoral process. No. You have other groups. That is what I said. Ideologies. Which ideology you are following? Ideology plays a very important role in Indian politics. What is the idea that you are proposing? Are you a centrist idea? Are you a leftist idea? Are you a rightist idea? Right, if you are going too rightist are too conservatism. People will not like today. Why? You look at the voting profile. Majority of the voters today are youth of the country. They are not bothered about your so-called conservative ideas. They want reformative ideas. They want an idea which will be going for egalitarianism. Under that context, how ideology is going to play a very crucial role, and how these votes are influencing the ideologies, just like how votes have influenced your religion-based politics or caste-based politics. And the next thing is today ideology has become a subaltern theme of discussion. Whether ideology is having the same relevance that we have before 1990s, whether ideology is having the same relevance today, that also you have to study. In the olden days, people were voting based on the ideology, but today people are not much concerned about the ideologies. As a result, there is no strong ideology for the political parties. No strong ideology for the political parties. You have to give substantiations. You have to give substantiations for this. How the ideologies of the governments are not going together. Not going together. This you'll study here. Not only that, social base of parties. What is the social group that is supporting the political party? Yes, BJP is said to be a Brahminical party because it is conservatism and majority. How you are saying that? Look at the cabinet. Look at the secretary's post. Look at the top positions. Who are occupying? The Brahmins of the country are occupying the major positions under this government. 10 years back, this was not the same thing. The cabinet berths was not reserved for much of the Brahmins. It was somewhat egalitarian. So by looking at who are occupying the major positions in the offices during the government, you can say which government or which political party they are supporting or which base is behind them. Who are framing their laws. We have to analyze it. What was the present status of this social basis? Which base is supporting them? Now, if you are still dependent, if you are getting an idea, if people are coming to know that you are giving more and more favoritism to the so-called Brahmins, the other sections will not like it. As a result, what the government has to do? Government has to change their principles. Government has to change their model of working. And that is the reason, if you look at BJPs in the year 2014 and in the year 2024, their base has slowly moved from the so-called the upper caste. Now they are coming with the so-called middle class people. Right? In one speech, normally BJP, which is towards conservatism, they will never go and make an election rally speaking about the so-called Muslims or speaking in favor of Muslims. But Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in one speech in the last elections, what he has done, he has spoken about inside the Muslims also, there are two classes. One class is the rich class, one class is the poor class. We are supporting this poor class. Why? You are getting a feeling among the people that this party is working only in favor of one religion, not in other religion. Now look at the base with which they have went. Now who is guiding all this? Someone is guiding. Someone has to say that your party is missing this base. For that you have to understand the social base first. How many sections of society are there, in which region, which section is present, which section is supporting these players. And today this is the election engineering that is happening. Election engineering happens due to this. So this is how they have framed ideologies and social basis of the parties. Patterns of coalition politics. So you know that coalition politics is how a group of parties are coming together and forming the so-called the governments. It's called coalition. They are asking about patterns from 1947 until 2024. What is the pattern of coalition politics? Do we have coalition politics all the times, or do we have a single government or single largest party framing the government? So that is also one pattern. There will be some pattern here. From 1947 until 1965 or until 1969, during the times of Jawaharlal Nehru, it was not a coalition party. It was strong central government. Everything Congress was present. But during the Indira Gandhi's, after Indira Gandhi's first tenure, then they started coming out with a coalition politics. And then there was an interregnum period of Rajiv Gandhi, where again there was a strong center. Then during the times of P.V. Narasimha Rao, you see a coalition government. Then you see the so-called this person, coalition politics will continue even during the times of Atal Bihari Vajpayee until 2003. Then comes Dr. Manmohan Singh first government, where UPA 1 has largest majority. As a result, there is no coalition, but UPA 2 again has coalition. Then after 2014, NDA 1, NDA 2, NDA 3, 1 and 2 is not coalition, 3 is coalition. Now, being in the coalition, how the system has functioned. Pattern means this. After this, having an independent political party at the center, what is the advantage for this government or for this country? What are the policies that they have framed? That will be influenced. That will be influenced. Right. The government will be forced for coalition dharma sometimes. That is what Dr. Manmohan Singh has said. When he was asked that why huge corruption has happened in UPA 2, he said that corruption we have not done, we have never entertained corruption, but the allies might have done. But still we are with the allies because this is a coalition dharma, otherwise we cannot form as a team and we cannot continue this government. So there will be some pressures when you are in the coalition government. There are some pressures when you are in the coalition government. That is a pressure that Narendra Modi government is there at this point of time. Right. So if it was the same case which was in the last 2 years or last 2 terms, government was having in a very good position, and as a result there were huge defections which were happening. Detractors were defracting from their political parties and they are leaving to other parties. But now this is not the thing. Look at the 18th Lok Sabha first session that has happened. What Mahua Mitra has said. This is not the time that if our party members will be jumping into your party. There are no such detractors. The time is over. Now you have to watch whether people are jumping from this system to this system. So BJP government might be thinking that they will be forming more or a central government by having their own party in the coming days by taking these people. But there is no one to come or jump into your system. You have to take care that your government might fall because some people might jump here. So this was the condition which will be there in the coalition government. So at that point of time, government form చేసేది ఒక ఎత్తు అయితే ఆ గవర్నమెంట్ తో ఎలా సస్టైన్ చేస్తున్నాం అన్నది ఇంకొకటి. How the policies are made. So that is one discussion that you have to have. Patterns of coalition politics means how patterns were formed, which government has mixed with what government, and what is the ideology what they have mixed. The next thing is when you are following coalition politics, one important thing that you observe is political parties belonging to different ideologies will be coming and merging together. Political parties coming together or having different ideologies will come and mix together with them. So, two different political parties which were framed with the different ideologies will be mixing in coalition politics to form the government. This is one pattern that we observe in India. So that is what we have to study here. That is what we have to study, and that we have to link with the current daily affairs which are happening. Pressure groups and trends in electoral behavior. Pressure groups. How pressure groups are creating pressure on this politics. Pressure groups like this group, like farmers group, like the women's group, like the students group, unemployees group, employees group. There will be many groups, many associations in this country. Everyone has a vote here. How they are influencing this politics. How they are influencing this politics. And then trends in electoral behavior. Trends in electoral behavior means how many people are participating, what is the participation of the people in the first general elections and in the 18th general elections. In the rural people, how many are participating? In the urban people, in the urban areas, how many people are participating? Even in these people, how many are women, how many are the so-called men? And how many belongs to the rich class, how many belongs to the poor class? Why poor class is participating more in the electoral process, why not rich? This is called trend in electoral behavior. There is some changing trends. There is changing trends. If you compare the 17th Lok Sabha and 18th Lok Sabha, this time 1.3% voting pattern was decreased. Voting percentage has come down to 1.3%, or it has reduced by 1.3% to somewhere around 61.3. Last time it was 63. So there was some decline here. Why this decline has happened? And what is the role of the parties that is playing here? That you have to discuss. And the last one is most important thing, how the profiles of legislators are changing. Socio-economic profile. socio-economic profile. Now what does this mean? This is what the thing. Which group is representing more in the parliament or state legislature? ఏ సామాజిక వర్గానికి చెందిన వాళ్ళు ఎక్కువగా మీకు కనిపిస్తున్నారు అని చెప్పేది సోషల్ ఇంపాక్ట్. ఆర్థిక బలం ఉన్న వాళ్ళు ఎంతమంది పాలిటిక్స్లోకి వచ్చారు, ఎంతమంది రిప్రజెంటేటివ్స్గా ఉన్నారు, ఎకనామిక్ ప్యాక్ట్. So this speaks about which society or which social group is dominating in politics in the country. If you look at the legislators profile, ఈ గ్రూప్కి చెందిన వాళ్ళు ఇంతమంది ఉన్నారు, ఈ గ్రూప్కి చెందిన వాళ్ళు ఇంతమంది ఉన్నారు, ఈ గ్రూప్కి చెందిన వాళ్ళు ఇంతమంది ఉన్నారు అంటే there you can understand which social group is very strong in the country. This is what they study. Social profile of legislators, economic profile of legislators. What is the economic status of these people now? So over a period of time, the social patterns have changed drastically. During Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru until Indira Gandhi time, you observe one thing that is called, it was dominated by the upper caste social profile. That is why Indian National Congress was called as the so-called the Brahmin caste or Brahmins group. But then after Green Revolution, one thing that you observe is OBC started dominating this sector. And after the Mandal Commission report, OBC started dominating at the highest level. Right, slowly NC, after BCs have started coming and representing in the politics, slowly SCs and STs started coming and they started occupying their positions. So like this, the social pattern in the elections have been changing. We have to understand how they have changed over a period of time. Economic pattern. In the early years or in the first two generations or in the first 30 years or 40 years of our movement, the economic profile of the legislators are very, very less. People from humble backgrounds who doesn't have great economic strength, they have represented us. But today there is a great role of money which is playing in influencing these legislators or in getting these legislators getting elected. As a result, what they got? Economic profile is also changing. Economic profile is also changing. So that you have to study. In the 18th Lok Sabha, how many people are ordinary people, how many people are above poverty line people, how many are super rich people, and how many times they are rich than the normal people. మనకంటే మన రిప్రజెంటేటివ్స్ ఎన్ని స్థానాలలో ఎక్కువగా ఉన్నారు ఆర్థిక బలం, and how they are getting elections. Now if you study that, then you will understand how society or social impact is there in elections. If you study that, you will understand how money power is there in the politics, how money is influencing. These two things is visualized here. Money ఏ విధంగా ఇన్ఫ్లుయెన్స్ చేస్తుంది, మీ సోషల్ గ్రూప్ ఏ విధంగా ఇన్ఫ్లుయెన్స్ చేస్తుంది అన్నది కూడా దీన్ని బట్టి అర్థం చేసుకోవచ్చు మనం. The same thing can be used in social and moral attitudes in ethics. This is the thing that you have there. Last one is social movements in the country. Civil liberties and human rights movements. What are the various movements that has taken place in the country for human rights? Right, though we had got our constitutional rights, constitution rights ichinappatiki, there were many movements which has taken place in this country because that rights were not implemented properly in the country. రాజ్యాంగమేమో హక్కులు కల్పించింది కానీ in reality what has happened is this was not implemented. This was not implemented. As a result, there are some sections which were really upset with this trend. Hence they started coming out and they started fighting for their own rights. Be it the so-called the people who are suppressed traditionally, they started speaking for their rights. The women sections of the community, after 30 years or 40 years, they started coming out and they started fighting for their rights. That is called women's movement. And then environmental movements. Today we are seeing huge number of environmental movements to save or to protect this environment or to ensure that climate change is not occurring to us. All these things we study under social movements, how the social movements have happened in the country and how they are happening. So IGP, if you look at this 11 sections, IGP, if you look at these 11 sections, there is one correlation. The first one speaks about the so-called modern Indian history, how we have got independence. How we have got independence. ఇండిపెండెన్స్ ఏ విధంగా వచ్చింది, ఏ విధంగా మాస్ స్ట్రగుల్ జరిపారు అనేసి ఫస్ట్ ఉంటుంది. మరి ఇండిపెండెన్స్ వచ్చిన తర్వాత ఎవరెవరు ఏ విధంగా మాట్లాడారు అనేసి సెకండ్ వన్ ఉంటుంది, 1B. నెక్స్ట్ వన్ ఫ్రమ్ 2 దే స్పీక్ అబౌట్ హౌ దిస్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ ఈజ్ ఫ్రేమ్డ్, కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ ఫ్రేమ్ చేసిన తర్వాత ఇంకా థర్డ్ నుంచి వాట్ ఆర్ ద ఫీచర్స్ ఆఫ్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. After this, they speak about how this country was ruled, what was the economic status, how these plans have worked, these things. Then they go into political party systems, what is influencing politics, how party systems are there in the country, then is how social movements are present in this country, how far you have done. So you can divide them into 3 segments. You have divide this part into 3 segments. 3 segments లో చదవచ్చు. ఒకటి వచ్చేసి ఫస్ట్ సెగ్మెంట్, దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ ఫస్ట్ చాప్టర్. ఫస్ట్ చాప్టర్ని ఒక సెగ్మెంట్గా చదువుకోవచ్చు. మోడర్న్ హిస్టరీ మీకు బాగా వస్తే దట్ విల్ బి డన్ దేర్. So in yesterday's discussion, I have said how to look at paper 1 section A. And I said it starts with the 10th chapter and 9th chapter. Right. And then you have ideologies. And then you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you have theories of state, and the last one is political theories and ideologies. So from inner to outer you have to go. This is what I said, and I also said how to frame the answers by writing the critiques and coming back to your own stand. This is what yesterday I said as far as section A was considered. Those who have not attended, you can watch that recorded video in AKS IAS YouTube channel. Right, this is the third session that I am going to take, or we are taking. So I said section A is nothing but the application part of section B. Section B is nothing but the application part of section A. IGP, Indian Government and Politics. Indian Government and Politics. How you can divide this is 3 components. 3 components. The division of this part is 3. First part is how this independence was achieved. What are the various struggles? So, political strategies to get it, first chapter A, and first chapter B is about the so-called theories, how theories or different theories have said about our independence. Second one is framing of constitution and working of constitution. This is entirely about constitutional philosophy. Kanuka ikkada కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ అనేది చాలా చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్ అవుతుంది. సో వాట్ దే స్పోక్ అబౌట్ హౌ దిస్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ ఈస్ ఫ్రేమ్డ్, అండ్ దెన్ దే హ్యావ్ స్పోకన్ అబౌట్ ఫీచర్స్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్, అండ్ దెన్ దే హ్యావ్ స్పోకన్ అబౌట్ గవర్నమెంట్, యూనియన్ గవర్నమెంట్, స్టేట్ గవర్నమెంట్స్, దీస్ థింగ్స్, అండ్ దెన్ దే స్పోక్ అబౌట్ సంథింగ్ లైక్ ఫెడరల్ రిలేషన్స్. They spoke about checks and balancing institutions. Checks and balancing institutions. More or less, this is speaking about the constitutional provisions. Ikkada constitutional provisions. The last one is applications, be it economic planning, how they have developed. The next one is how politics started getting influenced. Identity based politics, that is caste, religion, ethnicity. Then changing profile of legislators, party systems and movements. There are 3 parts here. Three parts here. In this, from chapter 2, making of Indian Constitution, everything is dynamic. Everything is dynamic. The dynamic components are covered here. This is static component. The first chapter will be helpful in modern Indian history. Modern Indian history మీకు నీట్గా తెలుస్తే that things will be covered here. That things will be covered here. So now have a look what is the overlapping component for the syllabus. So how we start here? We'll start directly. So as I said in my first class, when we start class, we'll take one paper, one half of the class will be paper section A, the second half will be like this. So in the second half, we'll start IGP and we will make sure that we are thorough here. So we'll go in detail, just like we'll start with 1, 2, 3. Remember that there are 3 parts here. ఒకటి ఇండియాకి ఇండిపెండెన్స్ రావడం, ఒకటి కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ ఫ్రేమ్ చేసుకొని కాన్స్టిట్యూషనల్ ఫీచర్స్ చదవడం, మూడోది కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ ఎలా వర్క్ చేసింది, పాలిటిక్స్ని ఏ విధంగా ఇన్ఫ్లుయెన్స్ అవుతూ ఉన్నాయి. ఇవి ఓన్లీ దీస్ 3 సెగ్మెంట్స్. కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ ఎలా వర్క్ చేసింది త్రూ ఇట్స్ పాలసీస్ అండ్ ప్లానింగ్స్. తర్వాత ఏముంది, ఏ విధంగా పొలిటికల్ పార్టీస్ ఫామ్ అయ్యాయి. సో పొలిటికల్ పార్టీస్ గురించి కొంచెం డిస్కషన్ ఉంది. దట్ ఈస్ ద థింగ్. దిస్ ఈజ్ వాట్ యూ హ్యావ్. నౌ లెట్స్ లుక్ అట్ what is the overlapping component. Before going to the books, let us look at what is the overlapping component that you have. This one, Indian nationalism and these things. Right. This is covered in history, modern Indian history, and this is extremely important for prelims also. Prelims section is covered here. After that, then next one, so 1B that you have, this cannot be used here. You have to just write it in PSIR itself, leave it. From here, making of Indian Constitution, this is all GS paper 2 articles. Second chapter, third chapter, fourth chapter, fifth chapter, sixth chapter, seventh chapter. All these are GS paper 2. All these are GS paper 2. అక్కడ polity కూడా అయిపోతుంది ప్రిలిమ్స్కి. ప్రిలిమ్స్ will be done. So that was the component. So next one, planning and economic development, role of planning, role of public sector, green revolution, land reforms, liberalization. ఇది ఎక్కడైనా ఉందా GS పేపర్లో? Where you will find it? Yes, GS paper 3, you have direct topics. Indian economy, issues related to planning, mobilization of resources, growth, development, employment, issues related to inclusive growth, and then budget and systems. This was the thing that you have in GS paper 3, first chapter syllabus. And then you have land reforms. One land reform is green revolution, role of public sector, pre-LPG era, post LPG era, pre LPG era, post LPG era. So LPG is also covered here. So GS paper 3 major components are covered. Major components are covered here. Caste, religion, ethnicity, Indian society. Social features has to be understood. From here, you can use this in party systems. This is there in GS paper 2 and prelims. The rest of the things can be used in political attitudes, GS paper 4. GS paper 4. Last one, human rights, women's movements. Women's movements, you have Indian society chapter. Role of women's and women's organizations and women's movement, GS paper 1 society. Environment movement, GS paper 3 environment. And these three things, again you can use the substantiations for essay. Substantiations for essay. So this is the overlapping component that you have as far as this is considered. As far as this is considered. Paper 2. So paper 2, how to divide? How you have to divide into 3 segments, and the 3 segments are this. 3 segments are this. The question is, what are the books that we have to study? Next one is, okay, we'll study what are the books that we have to study for this. As I said, GS paper section B, paper 1 is dynamic. Right. Our class notes, dynamic nature will come from the Hindu. Indian Express nunchi ekku raadu ikkada, Hindu nunchi ekku vastundi. And for politics and party systems, Frontline magazine will have good articles. Very good articles will be written by some scholars. We have to refer some articles that will be helpful. So like this, there will be some special magazines, cleaning up politics. So they will take some themes in every magazine of Frontline. Then we have to look at it. So this will be the major thing. So one article or one magazine that we can follow is Frontline. The basic sources again. What are the references? PM Bakshi, Indian Constitution. From your chapter 2 to chapter 7, if you want to understand the basics clearly, this is extremely important. It contains bare acts. It is constitutional bare act. What do you mean by bare act? All the articles 1 to 395 will be present here. So whenever you prepare, you have to look at it. So one extremely important book, you can purchase this. ఇది పర్చేస్ చేస్తే లక్ష్మీకాంత్తో పాటు లక్ష్మీకాంత్ మీరు చదవచ్చు జిఎస్కి or for your polity prelims. But if you purchase this, there will be 2 books, short book, big book. Better to purchase big book itself. right? Now, what is the advantage here? Whatever they ask in prelims, the questions will be from Bare Act. Whatever you prepare from per prelims, the questions will be from Bare Act. Bare Act nunche questions ఉంటాయి. అలానే whenever you write paper chapter 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you have to mention articles. ఆర్టికల్స్ ఖచ్చితంగా మెన్షన్ చేయాలి కాబట్టి ఈ బుక్ ఖచ్చితంగా మనకు బాగా తెలిసి ఉండాలి. విచ్ ఆర్టికల్ విచ్ వాట్ ఇట్ స్పీక్స్. బేర్ యాక్ట్ తీసుకోవచ్చు అంటే ఎట్లా డైరెక్ట్గా ప్రింట్ తీసుకోవచ్చు, లేదా ఈ బుక్ కొనొచ్చు. బెటర్ టు బై దిస్ బుక్. వై? హీ హ్యాస్ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్డ్ ఎవ్రీ ఆర్టికల్ ఆల్సో. ఇన్ మై క్లాస్ నోట్స్ ఐ విల్ బీ యూజింగ్ దిస్ యాజ్ రెఫరెన్స్. ఒక రెఫరెన్స్గా ఆర్టికల్స్ అన్ని బై హార్ట్ చేయాలంటే ఏదో ఒక బుక్ ఉండాలి, అది ఈ బుక్. లెట్ us confine with this. So all the 395 articles you can prepare from this. తర్వాత లక్ష్మీకాంత్ చదివితే చాలా సింపుల్ అనిపిస్తుంది. ఫస్ట్ ఇది తెలియాలి ఎలా చదవాలని. దిస్ ఈజ్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్, రైట్? సో హ్యావ్ ఇట్. సో దిస్ ఈజ్ ఫర్ దిస్. ఆఫ్టర్ దిస్ ఇది బేర్ యాక్ట్. అంటే ఏ యాక్ట్ ఏం చెప్తుంది, ఏ ఆర్టికల్ ఏం చెప్తుంది. ఆర్టికల్స్ అన్నీ ఒక చోటు ఉంటే బేర్ యాక్ట్ అంటాం దాన్ని. ఈ ఆర్టికల్ ఈయన పిఎం బక్షి ఇదే బుక్ చిన్నగా ఒకటి ఉంటుంది. యూ మైట్ హ్యావ్ సీన్ ఇట్. స్మాల్ బుక్ అండ్ బిగ్ బుక్. స్మాల్ బుక్ దే విల్ జస్ట్ రైట్ ఆర్టికల్స్, లీవ్ ఇట్. బిగ్ బుక్ దే విల్ రైట్ ఆర్టికల్స్, దే విల్ రైట్ సబ్స్టాన్షియేషన్స్ ఆల్సో. ఏ సుప్రీంకోర్టు జడ్జిమెంట్లో ఏం చెప్పారు ఇటువంటివన్నీ ఉంటాయి. సో అప్పుడు ఆర్టికల్స్ క్లియర్గా అర్థమైపోతాయి మనకి. దిస్ ఈజ్ వన్ థింగ్. ఇది కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్లో ఉన్న ఫీచర్స్ని అర్థం చేసుకోవడానికి. టు అండర్స్టాండ్ వాట్ ఈస్ దేర్ ఇన్ ద కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్, దిస్ బుక్ విల్ బి రియలీ హెల్ప్ఫుల్. మెజారిటీ ఆఫ్ ద స్టూడెంట్స్ విల్ నాట్ రీడ్ ఇట్ అన్ఫార్చునేట్లీ. బేర్ యాక్ట్ ఎవరు చదవరు, లక్ష్మీకాంతే చదువుతాం, రైట్? బట్ బేర్ యాక్ట్ చదివితే పాలిటీలో తప్పే పోవు. ప్రిలిమ్స్లో లక్ష్మీకాంత్ అంత డిఫికల్ట్గా ఉందనుకోండి గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవడం. 1 to 395 మీకు క్లారిటీ ఉంటే ఏది కూడా తప్పు చేసి రావు. సో వీ హ్యావ్ టు రీడ్ దిస్ ఎవ్రీ వన్. వీ హ్యావ్ టు రీడ్ కాదు, వీ హ్యావ్ టు బై హార్ట్ దిస్ అనుకోండి. హౌ టు బై హార్ట్ విల్ సీ దట్ ఇన్ ద క్లాస్. నెక్స్ట్ వన్, Indian government and politics. Fadia and Fadia, you'll call them as Fadia and Fadia, BL Fadia and Kuldeep Fadia. The book ne Fadia and Fadia antam. One of the best writers for public administration also. He has written good books. For political science also he has written good books. So one of the best book that he has written is this, right? Indian government and politics. Now what they speak here, this is a Bare Act. They will speak about the paragraph writing. They will speak about different contexts. Politics ఏ విధంగా ఉన్నాయి, ఏ ఆర్టికల్ ఏ విధంగా ఫంక్షన్ చేస్తుంది, ఫండమెంటల్ రైట్స్ ఎంతవరకు ఫంక్షన్ చేసాయి, డైరెక్టివ్ ప్రిన్సిపల్స్ ఏ వరకు ఫంక్షన్ చేసాయి. దీస్ థింగ్స్ దే విల్ డిస్కస్ ఇన్ దిస్ ఇండియన్ గవర్నమెంట్ అండ్ పాలిటిక్స్. అండ్ దెన్ హౌ ద లాస్ట్ చాప్టర్ దట్ ఐ సెడ్ పాలిటిక్స్ హౌ దట్ ఈస్ గెట్టింగ్ ఇన్ఫ్లుయెన్స్డ్ అనేసి ఒకటి చెప్పా కదా. దీనికంటే ముందు ఏం చెప్పా? ఐ సెడ్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు డివైడ్ దిస్ ఇంటూ 3 segments. One segment is getting independence, second one is constitution, third one is how it has worked on politics. This is what I said in GS paper section B. Section B ని గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాలంటే 3 రకాలు గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాలి. ఒకటి ఇండిపెండెన్స్, 2 కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్, 3 కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ ఎలా ఫంక్షన్ చేసింది విత్ పాలిటిక్స్. పాలిటిక్స్లో ఏముంది? లాస్ట్ 3 చాప్టర్స్. పాలిటిక్స్ ఎలా ఇన్ఫ్లుయెన్స్ అయిపోతున్నాయి, పొలిటికల్ పార్టీస్ ఏ విధంగా ఫామ్ అవుతున్నాయి, మూమెంట్స్ ఏ విధంగా జరిగాయి, ఇవి ఆ పాలిటిక్స్ గురించి లాస్ట్ దీని గురించి దీంట్లో ఉంటుంది. దిస్ ఈజ్ వన్ గుడ్ బుక్ అగైన్. ఇండియన్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్, కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్స్ అండ్ కాంట్రవర్సీస్. నౌ దిస్ ఈజ్ ద కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ దట్ దే హ్యావ్ ఫార్మ్డ్. ఈ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్లో ఆర్టికల్స్ని ఏ విధంగా యూజ్ చేసుకున్నారు, ఏ విధంగా మిస్యూజ్ చేశారు గత 75 సంవత్సరాలుగా అనేసి సుభాష్ కశ్యప్ హ్యాస్ రిటర్న్ వన్ వండర్ఫుల్ బుక్ అగైన్. దట్ ఈస్ ఇండియన్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్, కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్స్ అండ్ కాంట్రవర్సీస్. వేర్ వాజ్ కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్స్ ఇన్ దిస్ యాక్ట్స్, వేర్ వాజ్ కాంట్రవర్సీస్. దేంట్లో ఎక్కడ కాంట్రవర్సీ తీశారు, ఎక్కడ మన లెజిస్లేటర్స్ వారి అడ్వాంటేజ్ కోసం కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ని వాడుకున్నారు. దీస్ థింగ్స్ హీ హ్యాస్ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్డ్ హియర్. అనదర్ గుడ్ బుక్ ఫర్ దిస్. సో ఇది ఏ క్రిటిక్ ఆఫ్ దిస్. Clear guys? So this was related to it. So this is some basic. లక్ష్మీకాంత్ అంటాము, లక్ష్మీకాంత్ కంటే కొంచెం లోపలికి వెళ్ళాల్సి ఉంటుంది ఈ పేపర్కి. దట్ ఈజ్ హౌ యూ కెన్ షో డిఫరెన్స్, రైట్? ఒకసారి డిఫరెన్స్ చూపించాలి మీ జిఎస్ పేపర్కి ఆప్షనల్ పేపర్ కంటే. యూ హ్యావ్ టు రైట్ సమ్ స్కాలర్స్ హియర్. వాట్ ఆర్ దీస్ వ్యూస్? సో దిస్ ఈజ్ బేసిక్. అగైన్ దీస్ ఆర్ బేసిక్ బుక్స్. సింపుల్ లాంగ్వేజ్లోనే ఉంటుంది, బేసిక్గా ఉంటుంది. నౌ If you go for advanced books, governance you have, again this is a basic book. This governance, this book is good for something like public policy issues or various statutory institutions. Statutory institutions ఏమున్నాయి and study చేసేటప్పుడు this book will be helpful. లక్ష్మీకాంత్ బుక్ డైరెక్ట్గా స్టాచ్యూటరీ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్స్ గురించి మొత్తం ఒక చోటు ఉంటాయి. డిస్ట్రిక్ట్ కలెక్టర్ ఫంక్షన్స్ ఏంటి, గవర్నర్ ఫంక్షన్స్ ఏంటి, వేరియస్ స్టాచ్యూటరీ ఫంక్షన్స్ ఏంటి, రైట్స్ ఏమున్నాయి, వేరియస్ రైట్స్ ఏమున్నాయి, ఇవన్నీ కూడా. దిస్ ఈజ్ అనదర్ బుక్ దట్ యూ కెన్ రీడ్ ఇఫ్ యు ఆర్ ఇంట్రెస్టెడ్. లక్ష్మీకాంత్ బుక్ డైరెక్ట్లీ పాలిటీ ఉంది, గవర్నెన్స్ ఉంది లక్ష్మీకాంత్ది. సో పాలిటీ మనకందరికీ తెలిసిందే. గవర్నెన్స్ ఇన్ ఇండియా ఈజ్ వన్ బుక్ దట్ దిస్ ఫెలో హ్యాస్. నెక్స్ట్ ప్రతాప్ భాను మెహతా, ద ఆక్స్ఫర్డ్ కంపానియన్ టు పాలిటిక్స్. This is entirely the last segment of paper 2, section B, last segment, politics. So this is another good book that you can read exclusively for the last 4 chapters, last 3 or 4 chapters. Politics ఏ విధంగా ఫ్రేమ్ అయ్యాయి, మూవ్మెంట్స్ ఏ విధంగా ఫామ్ అయ్యాయి ఇండియాలో, దీస్ థింగ్స్. ప్రతాప్ భాను మెహతా, one of the best collections they will have. సో ఇక్కడ ఏం రాసింటారో ఒక్కొక్క దాని గురించి డిఫరెంట్ ఆథర్స్ హ్యావ్ రిటన్ వేరియస్ సెగ్మెంట్స్. So this is already I said this. So more or less you can confine this to these topics. ఇంకా లేదు, ఇంకా లోపలికి వెళ్ళాలి అంటే in depth, these are the books. The Politics by Andrew Haywood. He has written some political commentary. The same fellow who has written political ideologies, political theory, politics గురించి కూడా రాశాడు ఈయన. And this one, Pratap Bharu Mehta's The Oxford Companion to Indian Constitution. He has spoken about Indian Constitution again. Right. These are the things that you have to have. You can have it. ఇవన్నీ గుర్తుపెట్టుకుంటే సరిపోతుంది. Then some reference materials from the internet. So in BL Padia, actually these are the things that we have. సో అందులో ఏం చదవాలి, ఏం కథ అనేసి కూడా ఐ హ్యావ్ మేడ్ ఏ డిస్కషన్. సో ఇఫ్ యూ గో త్రూ ఇట్ యుల్ అండర్స్టాండ్. సో లైక్ దిస్ యూ కెన్ రెఫర్ దీస్ సోర్సెస్, బట్ వాట్ ఐ ప్రిఫర్ ఈస్ no need to go into this depth unless and until you are doing some MA. Yeah, if you want to read, you can read this. It is really good book, The Oxford Companion to Indian Politics. చాలా మంచిగా ఉంటుంది. Try to read this, you will get some major content. This book ఇది అవసరం లేదు, ఎందుకంటే ఇది మోర్ ఆర్ లెస్ విల్ కవర్ ఇన్ salient Indian statutory institutions will cover in class. Whatever Lakshmikant has said, that is more than enough also. So no need for that. But this book everyone should possess. ఇది అందరూ possess చేయాల్సిన book. If your optional is political science or for GS also, పాలిటీలో బాగా మార్క్స్ రావాలి అంటే ఇది బట్టి కొట్టిండాలి, రావాలి ఇంకంతే. ఏ ఆర్టికల్ ఏ విధంగా మాట్లాడుతుంది, ఏ విధంగా ఫ్రేమ్ చేశారు, ఎక్కడ ఏముంది అని తెలిస్తే, ఇఫ్ యు ఆర్ గుడ్ అట్ ఇట్, యు ఆర్ వెరీ గుడ్ అట్ ఇండియన్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్. దిస్ ఈజ్ సెలెక్టివ్ ఇండియన్ గవర్నమెంట్ అండ్ పాలిటిక్స్లో. దీంట్లో ఏముంటుందంటే ఫాడియా అండ్ ఫాడియాలో దిస్ ఈజ్ ద చాప్టర్స్ దట్ యూ హ్యావ్ విచ్ ఆర్ ఇంపార్టెంట్. సోషల్ మూవ్మెంట్స్ గురించి ఉంది, క్యాస్ట్ గురించి ఉంది ఆ బుక్ లోపల. ఇండియన్ ఫెడరల్ సిస్టమ్, సిపేజ్, సెంట్రల్ లెజిస్లేటివ్, కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ అసెంబ్లీ, నేచర్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియన్ అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్, ఇవన్నీ కూడా అందులో ఉంటాయి. అందులో సెలెక్టివ్ రీడింగ్ మనం చేసుకోవచ్చు. No need to go into this depth, right? Anyhow, I have taken the content from this itself. If you are interested, you can read this. లేదు ఇంకా కొంచెం ఎక్కువ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఉంది పాలిటిక్స్ గురించి అంటే, you can go with this. These are the 2 books that you can refer. The rest of the things is Everyday Hindu. Frontline, when the new articles come, I am going to tell what are the articles that you have to take. This is about this paper. కనుక ఈ పేపర్ నుంచి మనం ఏం తెలుసుకోవాలంటే, by the time this paper gets completed, make sure that your polity prelims is over. GS paper 2 constitution part is over. The first 12 topics in GS paper 2 will be completed here. So అవి బాగా వచ్చి ఉండాలి, which means somewhere around in GS paper 2 you will be able to write 12 to 13 questions with this discussion. Paper 2లో that will be thorough. కనుక దీన్ని ఎలా చేద్దామంటే, what I am planning, Even in public administration, optional students also have some components here. Public administration, political science, ikkada koncham overlap avutundi. If your optional is public administration, you will see these things. So when we study IGP, particularly from the context of constitution, that is second part of this, we will be preparing not only the optional, make sure that your polity is done for prelims and you do previous questions of it. Oka mock test okkati migulutundi, adi tarvata chesukochu. Tarvata GS paper 2 polity questions, 12 questions in each paper, previous years has to be completed. Idi complete చేసుకుంటే apart from optional previous year questions, if you are completing it, GS paper 2 ఉన్నటువంటి డైనమిజం అనేది వెళ్ళిపోతుంది. సో అట్లీస్ట్ వాట్ ఐ విల్ బ్రింగ్ ఈస్, I will take all the questions in the class. గత 10 ఏళ్లుగా వచ్చినటువంటి optional questions as well as the so called GS questions in paper 2. There we will discuss. IGP అయిపోయిన వెంటనే we will discuss. దీని సెగ్మెంట్లో ఏం రాయాలి, దీని సెగ్మెంట్లో ఏం రాయాలి, అప్పుడు మనకి రెండింటిపైన గ్రిప్ వచ్చేస్తుంది. Then you will be in a very comfortable position. This is the most difficult area in GS paper 2 where people will fail to score the mark. GS paper 2 లో డైనమిక్ గా ఉంటుంది కాబట్టి ప్రజలకి ఫస్ట్ అర్థం కాదు క్వశ్చన్ ఏం అడుగుతుందని. అర్థం కావాలంటే కొంచెం కాన్సెప్ట్ ఉండాలి. ఈ కాన్సెప్ట్ మనం చదివేది అందుకే ఆ బుక్స్ పిఎం బక్షి ఎందుకు అంతగా చదివేది, కాన్సెప్ట్ క్లారిటీ వస్తుంది. కాన్సెప్ట్ క్లారిటీ వచ్చిన తర్వాత ఇక్కడ నుంచి మనం స్కోర్ చేయొచ్చు మార్క్స్. సో వీల్ కంప్లీట్ దీస్ 2 సెగ్మెంట్స్ హియర్. అప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది, ఒక జిఎస్ పేపర్ 2 అయిపోయినట్టే, హాఫ్ ఆఫ్ దిస్. ఇంకా లాస్ట్ 4 క్వశ్చన్స్ ఉంటాయి జిఎస్ పేపర్ 2, అది ఇంటర్నేషనల్ రిలేషన్స్కి సంబంధించింది. సో పాలిటీ క్వశ్చన్స్ అయితే వీ కెన్ బి ఇన్ ఎ పొజిషన్ టు రైట్ జిఎస్ పేపర్ 2లో. సో వీ విల్ ఇంటిగ్రేట్ దట్ అండ్ వీ విల్ ఫినిష్ ఇట్. దిస్ ఈజ్ మై మోడల్. సో పేపర్ 1 పేపర్ 2తో పాటు పాలిటీ ప్రిలిమ్స్కి అయిపోతుంది. ఇది మీరు ప్రీవియస్ ఇయర్ క్వశ్చన్స్ చేయండి, నేను చెప్తాను ఎప్పుడు చేయాలి. తర్వాత జిఎస్ పేపర్ 3 పాలిటీ ప్రీవియస్ ఇయర్ క్వశ్చన్స్ విల్ డిస్కస్ ఇన్ ద క్లాస్, రైట్? సో వాట్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు డూ, ఐ విల్ గివ్ సమ్ వర్క్ టుడే, జస్ట్ వర్క్ ఆన్ ఇట్, ఇట్ విల్ బీ హెల్ప్ఫుల్. సో దిస్ ఈజ్ హౌ వీ విల్ బీ ప్రొసీడింగ్ విత్ పేపర్ 1. This is how we will be discussing with or proceeding with paper 1. So paper 1 I said political theory and IGP, Indian government and politics. In political theory you have 10 topics and you know where to start, how to come. ఎక్కడ స్టార్ట్ చేయాలి, ఎక్కడ అటాక్ చేయాలి అనేసి మీకు తెలుసు. సో దిస్ ఈజ్ 125 మార్క్స్. IGP, again you have 3 parts. IGP in syllabus 3 parts గా గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి. ఒకటి ఇండిపెండెన్స్, ఫ్రీడమ్ రానికి మనం ఏం చేసామనేసి, తర్వాత కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్, తర్వాత ఈ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ ఎలా వర్క్ అయింది, ప్లస్ పాలిటిక్స్. ఈ 3 సెగ్మెంట్స్ వస్తుంది. హైలీ డైనమిక్ కాంపోనెంట్ ఇస్ దిస్. ఇది దిస్ ఈజ్ ఫస్ట్ పేపర్. ఫస్ట్ పేపర్ ఇంతే, ఏం లేదు. సో దిస్ విల్ బి ఫర్ 250 మార్క్స్. ఐ విల్ ఆల్సో టెల్ హౌ టు చూస్ ద క్వశ్చన్స్ వైల్ రైటింగ్ ఇన్ మెయిన్స్. ఒకవేళ మీరు మెయిన్స్ రాస్తుంటే ఏ క్వశ్చన్ చూస్ చేసుకోవాలి, ఎలా చూస్ చేసుకోవాలి, దట్ ఆల్సో విల్ డిస్కస్ వెన్ ద క్లాస్ గెట్స్ ఓవర్. క్లాస్ ఓవర్ అయిపోయేసరికి ఈ 250 మార్క్స్లో విచ్ క్వశ్చన్స్ వీ హ్యావ్ టు చూస్, which questions we have to choose, we have to have some idea. ఎప్పుడైనా సరే డైనమిక్ నేచర్ ఉండే క్వశ్చన్స్ని చూస్ చేసుకోవాలి మనం. స్టాటిక్ క్వశ్చన్స్ని ఎంత వీలవుతుందో అంతవరకు అవాయిడ్ చేయాలి. డైనమిక్ క్వశ్చన్స్ని చూస్ చేసుకుంటే వీ కెన్ ఎక్స్ప్లోర్ ద ఆన్సర్, రైట్? దిస్ విల్ బీ హెల్ప్ఫుల్ ఇన్ దిస్ సెగ్మెంట్. సో చాలామంది చేసే మిస్టేక్ ఏమంటే పేపర్ 1, what is the myths or what is the mistakes that people do in the GS paper 1, in paper 1 of optional of PSIR, what they do is they target this section. Political theory in baga chadivesi they will write. Marks raw. Ekku marks ravali ante ee paper lo undi. This is the clue. Enduku ఇక్కడ థియరీ కాబట్టి అందరూ అదే థియరీనే రాస్తుంటారు. దే విల్ నాట్ గివ్ ఎనీ డైరెక్షన్స్ ఆర్ దే విల్ నాట్ చేంజ్ మచ్, బట్ దిస్ చేంజెస్. కనుక వీ హ్యావ్ టు చూస్ దట్ క్వశ్చన్. ఎప్పుడైనా సరే రిమెంబర్, వాట్ ఎవర్ ద ఆప్షనల్ ఈజ్, చూస్ ద డైనమిక్ క్వశ్చన్ అండ్ రైట్ ఇట్, యు ఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు గెట్ వన్ ఆఫ్ ద టాప్ స్కోర్స్. డైనమిక్ ఎందుకంటే ఇలానో హిందీ న్యూస్ పేపర్ చదువుతాం క్లాస్ రూమ్లో, సో యూ హ్యావ్ టు రీడ్ ద హిందూ and selective articles from Indian Express and Frontline. Indian Express and Frontline. This is the one. Basic source kakunda. Basic source is class notes. And after that references కోసం కావాలంటే ఆల్రెడీ ఐ హ్యావ్ సెడ్ ఏది రెఫరెన్స్ చూసుకోవచ్చు ఏం కథ అనేసి. పిఎం బక్షి is must, we have to possess it. This is paper 1. This is paper 1, which is this. So paper 1, Indian government and politics, political theory and Indian politics. This is what they have for 250. Now, second paper. Now, in order to understand second paper, you want to look in detail about it. కొంచెం in detail గా చూడాలి. I'll give you some 10 minutes break. I'll start it after 10 minutes. I'll start with this. I'll show you how exactly you have to read. ఏ విధంగా కనెక్షన్ ఉందనేసి I will quickly go through it. By 5 o'clock I'll complete this. Okay. Then I'll give you some work. Next week also we will meet once or twice. Then I will show you how to link with the questions. Whatever it is left, I'll try to link it. So the session is going. Someone is asking when I am going to start it. I am going to start it on August 5th. The classes are going to start on 5th of August. From there I'll take 4 months to complete. So August, September, October, November. So that you'll have some time to go for prelims if you are writing. Right? This is the thing. So August 5th classes start అవుతాయి. But before that, meanwhile, in the next 2 weeks also, I'll try to take 1 or 2 classes. Right? So just go for 10 minutes break. I'll start with this one, comparative politics and international relations. So let's start. So we are on day 3 of the topic discussion. So day 3 topics, PSIR classes at AKS IAS schedule discussion. I have already made what is going to be included here. The do's and don'ts, how to pick up the questions, how not to pick, what is the myth that this subject is very vast, these things. So we are discussing in my last 2 classes, I have imbibed these values or these concepts in my discussions itself. By the time we complete, you will come to know what exactly we are discussed. So we are in the syllabus analysis of paper 1 and overlapping components of this general studies. Now we are going with syllabus analysis of GS paper 2 of PSIR. So what is the myth here? What is the myth? So we have already did on paper 1. Now we'll go for paper 2. Now it is a very misconception that majority of us will think that paper 2 speaks about international relations. Political science and international relations untune political science paper 1, political science paper, international relations paper 2 anukuntam. No, that is not the thing. There was one classical transmission which has happened from paper 1 to paper 2. You will understand the beauty how that transition has happened. Look at it. In the paper 1, we have studied about political theory. Application of that is IGP in the Indian context. In the Indian context. Okay, in India, these are the principles which are applied. The question is, what if you apply these principles in the rest of the world? There are many states in the country, in the world, where you can apply the same principles. In India, you have one system. There is no guarantee that the same system has to be present in the rest of the world. So in the rest of the world, how you are applying these principles? And how that is present. So in Indian context, you have studied detail because you are writing for UPSC. As a result, they have given it as section B. Section B lo bhaganga idi icharu. That's completely fine. But they did not stop here. Okay, we have studied all these principles, but let's try to look at how these principles are working in other parts of the world. Other parts of the world. Now what they do is, they will divide the world into some governments or some societies. They will divide the world into 2 parts. One part, they divided them based on their society. The second part, based on their economy. ఆర్థిక వ్యవస్థగా ఒకటి డివైడ్ చేస్తే సామాజిక వ్యవస్థగా ఇంకొక పారామీటర్తో డివైడ్ చేయడం జరిగింది. So whenever you are dividing the economies or countries, you can classify them based on their social structure or economic structure. Social structure or economic structure. What do I mean by economic structure? Take for example, there are 2 types of economies which has dominated. Countries are dominated by 2 types of economics. One is the so-called capitalist. Second one is socialist. Capitalist, socialist. You have followed in majority of the countries capitalist model or socialist model. This is the thing which we have followed. So this is one segment on which they are studying this. So ప్రపంచాన్ని మొత్తం డివైడ్ చేసి దేశాలని ఈ విధంగా క్లాసిఫై చేశారు వాళ్ళు. Based on their society, సామాజిక వర్గాలను బేస్ చేసుకొని, సమాజాన్ని బేస్ చేసుకొని దేశాలను డివైడ్ చేయడం. Second one is on the economic terms they have divided the countries. On the economic terms, they have divided. In society, they called the societies into 2. Advanced societies or globalized societies or industrial societies and developing societies. Where industrial revolution has taken place, where societies have forwarded, where they are not taken place to that extent, they have divided them into 2. Developing societies and developed societies. Advanced economy, advanced societies and not advanced societies. Like this they have classified. ఈ విధంగా క్లాసిఫై చేసిన తర్వాత, now they started studying how these theories are functioning in these societies. how they are functioning in advanced societies, how they are functioning in developing societies, how they are functioning in capitalist economies, how they are functioning in socialist economies. What these functions? In a Japan political theory lo, you study about ideologies, you study about justice, you study about equality, you study about rights, you study about democracy, you study about power. When you have studied all these things and you have applied that in Indian context, that is section B. ఇండియాతో అయిపోలే ఈ ప్రిన్సిపల్స్ అన్ని. వై? దెర్ ఆర్ వెస్టర్న్ థింకర్స్ అండ్ మేజర్ ఫిలాసఫర్స్ అక్రాస్ ద గ్లోబ్ హూ హ్యావ్ కాంట్రిబ్యూటెడ్ టు ఇట్. దెన్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు అండర్స్టాండ్ హౌ దే ఆర్ వర్కింగ్ ఇన్ ద గ్లోబ్. అది కూడా ఒక సెగ్మెంట్ ఉంది ఇక్కడ. ఇన్ ఆర్డర్ టు అండర్స్టాండ్ దట్ దే హ్యావ్ డివైడెడ్ దిస్. దే హ్యావ్ డివైడెడ్ దిస్ అండ్ దిస్ వాజ్ గివెన్ యాజ్ ఎ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్. నౌ వీ కంపేర్ హౌ దీస్ ఆర్ ఫంక్షనింగ్ విత్ దెమ్, హౌ వీ ఆర్ ఫంక్షనింగ్ విత్ దట్. సో ఇండియాతో అయిపోలేదు. యూ ట్రేస్ ఇట్ ఫర్ అదర్ ఎకానమీస్, యూ ట్రేస్ ఇట్ ఫర్ అదర్ ఎకానమీస్ అండ్ దెన్ యూ సే హౌ దే ఆర్ ఫంక్షనింగ్. దిస్ ఈజ్ డిస్కస్డ్ యాజ్ ద సో కాల్డ్ కంపేరేటివ్ పాలిటిక్స్. కంపారేటివ్ పాలిటిక్స్ తులనాత్మకమైనటువంటి రాజకీయ విశ్లేషణ. తూలుస్తున్నాం, ఒక త్రాసులో వేసి వీఆర్ డూయింగ్ ఇట్. యు ఆర్ కీపింగ్ ఇట్ అన్ ఏ బ్యాలెన్స్ అండ్ యు ఆర్ చెకింగ్ విచ్ సిస్టమ్ ఈజ్ వర్కింగ్ ఆన్ హౌ విచ్ లెవెల్. రైట్, దిస్ ఈస్ ద థింగ్. అంబేద్కర్ యూనివర్సిటీ హ్యాస్ వన్ బుక్ ఆన్ దిస్, వన్ ఆఫ్ ద ఎక్సలెంట్ బుక్స్ ఇన్ తెలుగు. రైట్, ఇఫ్ యూ గెట్ ఇట్ యూ కెన్ రీడ్ ఇట్. తులనాత్మకమైనటువంటి రాజకీయ విశ్లేషణ, బిఆర్ అంబేద్కర్ యూనివర్సిటీ తెలుగు ఎడిషన్ అది. Right, so there you will find it. So this is other parts of the world. So in comparative politics they have said this, other parts of the world, how they have divided the world, they have divided into capitalist and socialist in terms of economies, developed and developing in terms of societies, samajika vargaluga vibhajinchi, arthika vibhajinchi, then they are comparing the politics. Ikkada politics emi, ikkada politics emi, ikkada politics emi, ikkada politics emi. That is the thing yesterday we were discussing. For North Korea, democracy will be one thing. For America, democracy will be one thing. For China, they will have rights. America will also say we will have rights. But the question is how they are applying. The question is how they are applying. మరి అక్కడ డెమోక్రసీ ఉంది, ఇక్కడ డెమోక్రసీ ఉంది అంటే దీంట్లో ఏదో డిఫరెన్స్ ఉంది. There is something, democracy that you have said. In reality, if you compare with all the countries in the world who are functioning, they are differing here. They are differing here. So what they said, that was the transition that UPSC has given in the syllabus. One of the finest way of marking the syllabus. Only people who study PhDs, they will be able to mark this systematic analysis. So first theories చెప్పి దీంతో స్టాప్ చేయకుండా దాన్ని ఇండియన్ కంటెక్స్ట్కి అప్లై చేసి పేపర్ 1గా ఇచ్చి పేపర్ 2కి వెళ్ళిపోయేసరికి పొలిటికల్ సైన్స్ అండ్ ఇంటర్నేషనల్ రిలేషన్స్ అన్నాడు కదా అనేసి ఇంటర్నేషనల్ రిలేషన్స్కి వెళ్ళలే డైరెక్ట్. దే డి నాట్ గో విత్ ఇంటర్నేషనల్ రిలేషన్స్ డైరెక్ట్లీ. దే హ్యావ్ కంప్లీటెడ్ ద రిమైనింగ్ సెగ్మెంట్ హియర్. వాట్ ఈస్ దట్ రిమైనింగ్ సెగ్మెంట్? ద రిమైనింగ్ సెగ్మెంట్ ఈస్ హౌ దిస్ ఈస్ వర్కింగ్ అపార్ట్ ఫ్రమ్ ఇండియా, హౌ ఇట్ ఈస్ వర్కింగ్ ఇన్ ద రెస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద వరల్డ్. ప్రపంచంలో ఇది ఇంకా ఎలా పనిచేస్తుంది అనేసి దే స్టార్టెడ్ సీయింగ్ ఇట్. ఇన్ దట్ కంటెక్స్ట్ దే హ్యావ్ గివెన్ దిస్. సో దట్ ఈస్ ద రీజన్ ఇఫ్ యూ ఓపెన్ యువర్ పేపర్ 2, the first 4 chapters will be on something like comparative politics. Something like comparative politics. IR kan vellaledu vallu. They study about comparative politics. How they are comparing? They are comparing in this segment. They have divided the societies, they have divided the world into 2. One is based on the society, based on the economy, because society plays important role on politics, economy plays important role on politics. Socio-political comparison, economic politics comparison. And this is not a new thing. Comparison was done by Aristotle way back 300 years BC. He is known as the father of this study. He is known as the father of comparative politics. Enduku ఆ సమయంలోనే he has compared all the constitutions of the world and he has given how this theory is working. అన్ని కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్స్ స్టడీ చేశాడు. he has studied more than 158 constitutions by that point of time. అప్పట్లో ఉండే రాజకీయ పొలిటికల్ సిస్టమ్స్ అంతా చదివి హీ హ్యాస్ ఫ్రేమ్డ్ దిస్ అండ్ హీ హ్యాస్ గివెన్ ద కాన్సెప్ట్స్, ఏది మంచి ఏది చెడు అనేసి. రైట్, సో హీ హ్యాస్ స్టడీడ్ ఇన్ దిస్ కంటెక్స్ట్, సో ద సేమ్ థింగ్ వాజ్ క్యారీడ్. సో ద ఫస్ట్ 4 chapters ఇన్ పేపర్ 2 దట్ యూ ఫైండ్, అందుకే పేపర్ 2 అని ఏమి ఇచ్చాడు, ఇంటర్నేషనల్ రిలేషన్స్ ఇవ్వాలి. దో యువర్ పొలిటికల్ సైన్స్ అండ్ ఇంటర్నేషనల్ రిలేషన్స్, political science, though it was covered in paper 1, they did not start with paper 2 as international relations. They have given something more. ఏమని ఇచ్చారు, కంపారిటివ్ పాలిటిక్స్ అండ్ ఇంటర్నేషనల్ రిలేషన్స్. మరి కంపారిటివ్ పాలిటిక్స్ అంటే ఏంటి, ఎక్కడ ఐఆర్ స్టార్ట్ అవుతుంది, దట్ ఈస్ ద సెగ్మెంట్ దట్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు అండర్స్టాండ్ ఇన్ పేపర్ 2. ఎక్కడ వరకు కంపారిటివ్ పాలిటిక్స్ ఉంది, ఎక్కడ నుంచి ఐఆర్ స్టార్ట్ అవుతుంది, అంటిల్ వాట్ ఎక్స్టెంట్ యూ హ్యావ్ కంపారిటివ్ పాలిటిక్స్, ఫ్రమ్ వేర్ ఇంటర్నేషనల్ రిలేషన్స్ స్టార్ట్స్. So the first 4 segments that they have given is this comparative politics. Now look at the first 4 topics, you'll identify the same thing. Whatever we have studied in India, more or less that will be reflecting in all the developing societies. India is a developing society. India is a developing society. Societies ఏ విధంగా క్లాసిఫై చేశాడు, based on developing or industrialized. India is a mixed economic model or socialist model. How that is, whatever the functions that is there, that will also be functioning here. So they are comparing it. So try to get that context. I hope you are getting what my point is. What I am saying is, after the break I started this. In paper 1, there are 2 parts. The first part speaks about theory, second part speaks about application of theory. But where you have applied them? To India. భారతదేశానికి మాత్రమే అప్లై చేశాము. As you are writing UPSC, they have applied for this. But your application should not stop with India, because whatever the theories that these fellows have said, it is applicable for the entire world. ప్రపంచానికి మొత్తం అప్లై అవుతుంది అది. Then you have to study that in different contexts. ప్రపంచం దేశాలకి అందరికీ కూడా మనం అప్లై చేస్తూ చదవాలి. If you apply for all the 198 countries or 199 countries, our subject will not end. As a result, what they did, all the countries, whatever you have in the world, they have divided into these 2 segments. ప్రపంచ దేశాలన్నింటినీ 2 భాగాలుగా విభజించారు. One segment that they have divided is on society, the second segment that they divided is on economy. ఎకానమీలో కూడా ఏ విధంగా, there were 2 economies that they considered, communist economy, socialist economy. Societies, advanced societies, developing societies. These are the classifications that they did. Now they will apply these principles here. They will apply these principles here. They will apply these principles here. 4 applications. Ante India political context చూస్తే, if you observe India's political context, it is present here and it is present more or less here. This will be applied here. The first 4 chapters are speaking about this in general, comparative politics and international relations. దీన్ని ఏమంటారు, తులనాత్మకమైనటువంటి రాజకీయ విశ్లేషణ. That is what I said, in a balance, ఒక త్రాసులో they will check which is functioning well, which is not functioning well. Comparison అంటే ఇదే. Then you will come to know which is better here. That is how they are doing it. Right. So now look at this chapter. Comparative politics is the first one. Second one that they gave is state in comparative politics, perspectives. Third one, politics of representation, participation. Fourth one, globalization and its impacts. So first one ఏమంటున్నాడు, comparative politics. How we are comparing. The first topic is speaking about how we are comparing. They are comparing nature and major approaches, means what are the approach to compare. ఏ విధంగా దీన్ని కంపేర్ చేయాలి అంటే, they have given political economy and political sociology perspectives. Political economy and political sociology perspectives. What does this mean? Economy is going to impact politics. Society is going to impact politics. Economy is going to impact politics. Society is going to impact politics. Just now I said in IGP itself, what are the major elements that are playing crucial role in defining the politics? Social elements like caste, religion, ethnicity, ideologies, these are playing a very, very crucial role in influencing the politics. That is the thing, society plays important role on politics. Economy plays a crucial role. The 18th Lok Sabha elections where BJP government couldn't cross full majority is an indication that economy has played a very crucial role in determining this politics. The economic elements such as poverty, inequality, unemployment, these played a crucial role. Hence, economy also influences politics. So what they decided, you consider those factors which are playing crucial role in politics and divide the countries accordingly. So two factors are influencing your politics. One is economics, second one is society. Then emantam political sociology approach, political economic approach. That is what they said. పొలిటికల్ సోషియాలజీ అప్రోచ్ ఒకటి ఉంటుంది, పొలిటికల్ సోషియాలజీ అప్రోచ్ ఒకటి ఉంటుంది. ఆ పర్స్పెక్టివ్లో చదవండి, అర్థమవుతుంది అని చెప్తుండు ఫస్ట్ చాప్టర్లో. ద సెకండ్ చాప్టర్, థర్డ్ చాప్టర్, ఫోర్త్ చాప్టర్ ఈజ్ స్టడీయింగ్ దెమ్ ఇన్ దిస్ పర్స్పెక్టివ్. అది చదవండి అని చెప్పి ఫస్ట్ చాప్టర్లో చెప్పి, సెకండ్ చాప్టర్, థర్డ్ చాప్టర్, ఫోర్త్ చాప్టర్లో దీంట్లో అనలైజ్ చేయండి అని చెప్తుంది. ఇన్ సెకండ్, థర్డ్, ఫోర్త్ చాప్టర్ దే ఆర్ సెల్లింగ్ యూ టు అప్లై దట్ యాజ్ పర్ ద ఫస్ట్ చాప్టర్. సో ఓకే, మనం ఇది చదువుతాం. ఈజ్ దేర్ ఎనీ లిమిటేషన్స్ ఆర్ ఈజ్ దేర్ ఎనీ ఛాలెంజెస్? దట్ వాజ్ ద ఫోర్త్ పాయింట్ దట్ దే హ్యావ్ గివెన్ ఇన్ దిస్ అప్రోచ్. సో లిమిటేషన్స్ అండ్ ఆఫ్ ద కంపారిటివ్ మెథడ్. ఈజ్ ఇట్ ఓకే టు కంపేర్ ద కంట్రీస్ ఇన్ దిస్ వే ఆర్ ఈజ్ దేర్ ఎనీ ఛాలెంజ్ హియర్? Yes, there will be challenges in comparison. How can you divide these two, how can you divide all the countries just into two brackets? Either you have to fall into this bracket or whether you have to fall into this bracket according to this. Or either you have to fall into this bracket or this bracket. There are many areas where you can get overlap. Today, no country is a communist country or socialist country. We are an mixed economic model. How can you apply these principles by studying this? So that is why they said limitations of comparative method. Limitations of comparative method. So what I mean to say here is, whenever you study this, this first topic, whatever they are speaking about comparative politics. Compare the politics of the countries. Just it is not over with IGP of India. Compare. For comparison, you should know what are the approaches. What are the approaches? Economic approach, social approach. However, if you do follow this, there are certain limitations. This is what they said. Now, okay, limitations ఉన్నాయి. లిమిటేషన్స్ ఉన్నాయి అనేసి అన్ని చదవలేము కాబట్టి, సిలబస్ కంప్లీట్ అవ్వాలి కాబట్టి దే వెంట్ విత్ ద నెక్స్ట్ స్టేజ్. వాట్ ఆర్ దిస్ సే? State, they started comparing. What is the nature of the state? They have said theories of state in paper 1. Second chapter is theories of state. How state is functioning. How they said state, characteristics of the state and changing nature of the state in which capitalist and socialist economies. Capitalist and socialist economies. Look at it. First try to understand what is the syllabus. Then you will frame the answers very easily. State in comparative perspective. You know what is comparison. You are comparing the countries. On what basis? Economic basis or social basis? First what they said. Compare them on economic base. Second thing them is social base. Compare the countries based on economics or societies, social base. This is called political economic perspective. This is called political sociological perspective. Now how they are comparing? Characteristics and changing nature of the state in two economies. Capitalist economy, socialist economy. That is what I said. Economies are classified. Look at this. Economies are classified as capitalist and socialist. Societies are classified as advanced and developing, industrialist or developing and good antar. That is what they gave here. That is what they gave here. Nature of the state in capitalist and socialist, advanced and developing. This is the comparison. Deni compare చేస్తున్నాం? State, రాష్ట్రాన్ని కంపేర్ చేస్తున్నాం. Just like you have studied the state in India, you have to study the same thing. మరి ఇండియా ఏ సెగ్మెంట్లో ఫామ్ అవుతుంది? మోర్ ఆర్ లెస్ ఇండియా విల్ కమ్ ఇంటూ దిస్ సెగ్మెంట్. ఎందుకు? When you divide the economies into two types as communist and socialist, in the first 60 years of our independence, you have followed this socialist model until our reforms. Hence, whatever it is applied in India, it will be applying here. But in developing country, in capitalist countries, state will be functioning in a different manner. ఇండియాలో ఎలా స్టేట్ ఫంక్షన్ చేస్తుందో అలానే ఫంక్షన్ చేయాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు క్యాపిటలిస్టిక్ సొసైటీస్లో ఆర్ క్యాపిటలిస్టిక్ ఎకానమీస్లో. The same thing they said, characteristics and changing nature of state in advanced and industrial and developing societies. There is some change, okay? Rendu okate kaadu. Typing mistake padindi anukuntaru malli. Typing mistake kaadu adi, okay? Look at it. Characteristics and changing nature of the state in advanced industrial and developing countries. So advanced industrial countries and developing countries, you will have one perception of the state or this. More or less, socialist economies is one concept, capitalist economics is one, developing societies is one, advanced industries is one. This is how they are comparing the state. State ni compare chesaru. Next one, politics of representation and participation. How politics, state ni compare chesin tarvata, state means the state elements, like how legislation is present, how executive is present, how the high courts are present and supreme courts are present, how checks and balancing institutions are present. India lo edaithe chadivamo avanni kuda state elements. Elements of the state are three, or organs of the state or government, you have to study them. Similarly, you have to study here. So after studying that, they went with politics of these countries. They started comparing not only the state, they started comparing politics. How politics vary from state to state. Political parties, how they are playing crucial role. Pressure groups, how they are playing crucial role. Social movements, how they are playing crucial role in these things. Where? In these societies. Look at here. What they are saying. Politics of representation and participation of what? Advanced industrial economies, societies and developing societies. In developing societies, and advanced societies, how political parties are influencing politics, pressure groups are influencing them, social movements are varying. Social movements are varying. How they are present. That is the thing. Say for example, in the advanced industrial economies, take one movement, environment movements. What advanced industrial economies are saying? That everyone should have, that everyone should take, every country should take equal responsibility in reversing their climate change. We should stop this climate change. India has to take equal role, Brazil has to take equal role, China has to take equal role. That is the demand that is done by these advanced countries of the world, particularly USA and Europe. What will be our counter to them? Why should we take equal role with you? This is you people who have destroyed this environment. You take more responsibility, we take less responsibility. Meeru dini karanamayaru. You have to take more responsibility, I will take less responsibility. Why should we take equal responsibility? This is what we ask. So as a result, in terms of environmental movements, in the advanced economies, there is one literature or one demand, whereas in our countries, we have other demands. What is our demand? Yes, we protect our environment, but that has to be common but differentiated responsibility. CBDR or responsibility, they will fix and they will go ahead. But what this fellow is saying, uniform responsibility of all the countries in the world. We will not accept that. This is what they say. The same thing. Political parties are playing a very crucial role here. Similarly, political parties there will play a crucial role. Elements of political parties like caste, religion, identity-based politics will be dominant in developing societies. But in advanced societies, ideologies play crucial role. In developing societies, social factors consider major role, whereas here economies form major role in determining the politics. Like this, pressure groups. Pressure groups are highly disorganized in these societies, whereas they are highly organized in advanced countries. So you'll find some characteristics, differences between the political parties here and there, pressure groups here and there, social movements here and there. Right? This is the thing that they have given. The last one is impact of globalization that they gave here, fourth point. Impact of globalization. Responses from developed and developing societies. Again, impact of globalization. So in short, they are comparing four things. Comparative politics లో 4 కంపేర్ చేసుకుంటున్నాం. ఫస్ట్ కంపారిటివ్ పాలిటిక్స్ అంటే ఏంటి, దాన్ని ఎలా స్టడీ చేయాలని ఫస్ట్ చాప్టర్ చెప్పారు. In the first chapter, they have said what is comparative politics, how we have to study through different models. In the second chapter, what they said about how to compare. Now they start comparing here. What they start comparing? State. Comparison of the states. Economic wise, society wise. Then politics they are comparing. In politics, political parties, pressure groups, social movements are playing crucial role. How they are different here, how they are different here. And then how globalization has impacted this and this. Developing societies ne vidhanga impact chesindi, developing societies ne vidhanga impact chesindi. So there are 4 discussions. With this, that transition is over. That transition that they wanted to do is over. So in paper 2, one thing that you have to understand is paper 2 is not exclusively IR. It is a combination of this and then IR. International relations. So ఈ 4 chapters ఇక్కడ ఇచ్చిన తర్వాత next thing that they start is IR. Just like any subject starts with theory. Economics అయినా theories తో స్టార్ట్ అవ్వాలి, polity అయినా theories తో స్టార్ట్ అవ్వాలి, ethics అయినా theories తో స్టార్ట్ అవ్వాలి. Everything will have theories. Similarly, IR also starts with theories and concepts. What are the various theories with which IR is related? So from 5th chapter, you have this thing. From 5th chapter, you have these things. Theories and concepts. Look at this. Approaches to the study of IR. 5th chapter. Approaches to the study. What are the theories to study this? Again they gave idealist, realist, Marxist, functionalist systems approach, which means they are theories. They are saying that, so now international relations. International relations means how the relations between 2 countries are existing and how should be the relation. ఇప్పటి వరకు ఏం మాట్లాడారు చూడండి, ఇక్కడ వరకు until here this have spoken about individual state, how your state is, like this all the states they have discussed. Inside you, how the structure is there. Now what they started discussing about how your state and your state has to get integrated. That is called IR. Why the states come together and get integrated at the global level. These things. So they said there will be some theories why you are coming and why you are coming to discuss. ఎందుకు వస్తున్నారు ఇద్దరు కలిసి, what is your strategy behind it. So they will say, these approaches will say, these fellows are coming together for some interest. ఏదో ఒక ఇంట్రెస్ట్ తో వస్తున్నారు. What are those interests? Different people say different things. So idealists say something, realists say something, Marxists say something, functionalists say for something, systems approach say something. వీళ్ళందరూ రావడానికి ఒక కారణం ఉంది వెనకాల కనేసి ఆ కారణాలు డిఫరెంట్ గా చూపిస్తారు. These people will say that you are coming together for different purposes. What are that purposes? That will be shown differently by different theories. That is called approach. This is just like theories. Then key concepts in international relations. Key concepts in international relations. They have given some key concepts. Like what is national interest? National interest కోసం వస్తాయి అనేసి చెప్తాడు. What is national security? What is national power? What is balance of power? What is deterrence? After this, transnational actors and collective actors, world capitalist economies and globalization. They have given these 3. So they are giving about concepts that determine IR. Theories is why relationships are there. Concepts is how to study this IR in conceptual wise. So this is what they have given. So every country will have national interest. National security, that is their interest. They want power. They want to have balance of power, deterrence. Then they have given transnational actors and collective security. Transnational actors. Beyond the nation, there are some actors who are playing a very crucial role in determining these international relations. So who are those actors? They are called transnational. The nation is not there, but someone is there behind it. An elected government is not the actor here. Transnational actors. For example, terrorists. They are transnational actors. They are not sponsored by the government. They are not national actors. They are called transnational actors. They create challenge to the states. Which state? That state may be an India, that state may be US, that state may be anything. So today the threats are emerging for us together. Threats are emerging for us together. As a result, we should have collective security. Manandram enduku ravali ante threats are emanating us. Be it the so-called terrorism, be it the so-called climate change, be it so-called cyber security issues, everything is a threat that has to be tackled unitedly. Danikosmanes is transnational actors and collective security. Next one is world capitalist economy and globalization. How capitalism has started dominating here on globalization that they have given here. So this is the thing that they give. So slowly from here they enter into IR and then they started theories and concepts. This is first component of IR. That is chapter 5 and chapter 6. From chapter 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever they had, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, all these are how IR evolved and what are the elements of IR. International relations ఏ విధంగా evolve అవుతా వచ్చింది. That is what they have given. Right, I said IR is a very new subject. It has taken expanding only after the Second World War. That is the reason why they gave international changing political order, the rise of superpowers, non-alignment movement, then collapse of Soviet Union. They have given this. The next one that they went ahead is economic institutions, how economic institutions have evolved, international economic systems. Then they gave is United Nations, how political systems has evolved at the global level. So one thing is economic system, the second one is this. United Nations means political system. As these institutions are failing, you have regionalization of politics. World politics in regional level ki తీసుకొని వచ్చాం. Contemporary global concerns. అందరికీ కలిపి వచ్చినటువంటి కష్టాలు ఏంటి అనేసి contemporary global concerns they are defining. Such as democracy. There is failures of democracy in major parts of the societies. Human rights is problem. Environment is problem. Gender justice, terrorism, nuclear proliferation, ఇవన్నీ problems ఉన్నాయి. How to tackle them? Common concerns. Global concerns means at global level we have these threats. We have to collectively challenge them. How you are going to collectively challenge them? So, if you observe this paper 2 section A, paper 2 section A, first thing that you have to identify is section A is having comparative politics and IR. In the IR, it starts with 5th chapter to 11th chapter. 5th to 11th chapter. In the 5th chapter, they speak theories and concepts. 6th. From 7th, they speak about how IR evolved. IR evolved with Cold War. Cold War politics. Bipolarity ఏ విధంగా ఉంది, నాన్ అలైన్మెంట్ ఏ విధంగా ఉంది, USSR ఏ విధంగా డిసింటిగ్రేట్ అయ్యింది. This is the thing that they gave. So UPSC stopped with Cold War politics itself in the syllabus. After that, then they spoke about at the global level, there is some economic institutions, there is some political institutions. Economic institutions, political institutions. Economic institutions were given in the so-called 8th one. Evolution of international economic system. అంతర్జాతీయ ఆర్థిక సంబంధాలు ఏ విధంగా మొదలయ్యాయి, అంతర్జాతీయ రాజకీయ సంబంధాలు ఏ విధంగా మొదలయ్యాయి. Economic system, they have given here. Evolution of WTO, evolution of World Bank, evolution of IMF. What are the problems here and what are the demands for new international economic order? We are demanding for a new order altogether today. What are those demands? they have given this. And political system. So just like economic institutions like WTO, World Bank, IMF, you have political systems also like United Nations Organization. So that is why they have given UNO. And the next one that they gave is, as these institutions are failing, now look at this, international politics you discussed. But again they said, regional groups. Regionalization of world politics means the world politics have been dominating by some regions today. So ప్రపంచం మొత్తం ఒక రకంగా చదివితే మళ్ళీ you have to consider the regions across the globe. The regions that they gave is Europe as one region, South Asia, that is called ASEAN as one region, APEC, Asia Pacific Economic Region, Economic Cooperation, SAARC, NAFTA. Why they were formed? Because these global institutions have failed at some level. As a result, you have a regionalization of world politics. మనం పెద్ద గుంపుగా ఉంటే మన ఆబ్జెక్టివ్స్ రీచ్ అవ్వట్లేదు, చిన్న చిన్న గ్రూప్స్గా డివైడ్ అవుదాం, ఆ గ్రూప్స్గా we will fulfill our objectives. This is why they have come here. If you are together as a world, you are not fulfilling some objectives. As a result, you have come out of this and you have formed your own organizations. For example, WTO is there to function or to look at global trade. But despite WTO presence, you have some regional organizations like APPSC, SAFTA, NAFTA. SAARC is that, NAFTA is that, APPSC is that. Why? Because they have some fractures. As a result, regionalization of politics has happened. Apart from that, though it is happening, we have to be united because there are some global concerns. This is how they framed it. Very simple. Chala simple idi. So the only thing that you have to remember is comparative politics. Comparative politics chala easy. ఆ 4 చాప్టర్లు ఏం కంపేర్ చేస్తాం, సొసైటీ ఇక్కడ ఎలా ఉంది, ఇక్కడ ఎలా ఉంది, ఎకానమీ ఇక్కడ ఎలా ఉంది, ఇక్కడ ఎలా ఉంది అనేది అర్థమవుతే యూ అప్లై థియరీస్, దట్స్ ఇట్. After this, when you enter into IR, first IR theories ఉంటాయి. That is one major area. I said whenever theories are there, you have to study well. And concepts. IR లో ఉండే కీ కాన్సెప్ట్స్ ఏంటి, కీ టర్మ్స్ ఏంటి. అయిపోయిన తర్వాత ఎవల్యూషన్ ఆఫ్ IR ఏ విధంగా ఎవాల్వ్ అయింది కోల్డ్ వార్తో. That is the next chapter that they give. So first 4 ఇక్కడ అయిపోతే 5, 6, 7th. 8th, 9th they spoke about economic and social political institutions. 10th one is regionalization of world politics. 11th one is global common concerns. This they gave. సో ఈ విధంగా అంతర్జాతీయ సంబంధాలు నెలకొల్పాం. అంటే అంతర్జాతీయ సంబంధం దేనికోసం నెలకొల్పుతాం, ఏ థియరీ ఏం చెప్తుంది, అందులో ఉన్న కీ టర్మ్స్ ఏంటి, అంతర్జాతీయ సంబంధాలు ఏ విధంగా నెలకొల్పారు సెకండ్ వరల్డ్ వార్ తర్వాత, అంతర్జాతీయంగా డిస్కస్ చేయడానికి ఆర్థిక వ్యవస్థలు ఏమున్నాయి, రాజకీయ వ్యవస్థలు ఏమున్నాయి, దాంట్లో ఉండే ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ వల్ల రీజనల్ వ్యవస్థలు ఏ విధంగా నెలకొల్పారు, అందరికీ ఉన్నటువంటి కామన్ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ ఏంటి, ఇవి డిస్కస్ చేసింది. సో దే హ్యావ్ డిస్కస్డ్ ఇంటర్నేషనల్ రిలేషన్స్ బ్రాడ్లీ ఇన్ దిస్ వే. హౌ ఇంటర్నేషనల్ రిలేషన్స్ ఎవాల్వ్ త్రూ థియరీస్, concepts, world politics, that is Cold War era. And then they spoke international economic institutions, international political institutions, and this one, common problems. Tarvata what they did, they applied this for India in section B. They applied this for India and the world. ప్రపంచంలో భారతదేశం ఏ విధంగా సంబంధాలు ఉన్నాయి ప్రపంచ దేశాలతో, ఇండియా అండ్ ద వరల్డ్, హౌ ఇండియా ఈస్ హ్యావింగ్ రిలేషన్స్ ఇన్ ద వరల్డ్ విత్ డిఫరెంట్ కంట్రీస్. దట్ ఈస్ వై దే హ్యావ్ గివెన్ ఇట్ హియర్, ఇండియా అండ్ ద వరల్డ్ యాజ్ ద లాస్ట్ కాంపోనెంట్. రైట్. సో వాట్ దే సెడ్, ఇండియాస్ ఫారిన్ పాలసీ, వాట్ ఈస్ అవర్ ఫారిన్ పాలసీ టువర్డ్స్ దిస్ ఇంటర్నేషనల్ రిలేషన్స్, హౌ అవర్ పాలసీ ఈస్ చేంజింగ్ డిఫరెంట్ ఫేజెస్, వాట్ ఈస్ ఇండియాస్ రిలేషన్స్ విత్ ఇట్స్ నైబర్హుడ్ సౌత్ ఏషియా. Right, then you are going to global south. South to start chesam. Global south means all the countries who are located to the south of equator or more or less which are developing countries. Then they went at, okay, don't look about developing countries. You have also some superpowers of the world. You also study about them. What is your relations that they exist? So this, they have spoken up to individual countries. Look at India's context, how they went. India kantu oka foreign policy undi. What is India's foreign policy? What was our policy during Jawaharlal Nehru? What was our policy during Indira Gandhi? What was our policy during Dr. Manmohan Singh? What is our policy during Prime Minister Modi? This is called changing foreign policy. That is what they have given. Right? Continuity and change of foreign policy. How they are changing. What is determining this? What are the elements of India's foreign policy? Tarvata, during our Cold War, right, India's foreign policies was with Cold War itself, because we got independence at that time. As a result, how we are present in this Cold War. When the world was divided into two blocks, we have presented a new block called non-alignment block, and how this played a very crucial role at the global level. So that is what that they gave. India's contribution to non-alignment movement, different phases, and whether this NAM is relevant to today or not. So the same concept was discussed in chapter 7 of first section, non-alignment movement aims and achievements. Mari ikkada discuss chesam adi. What does this mean? India ki non-alignment move ki there is some cardinal relation. What is that? So if you study there, this chapter will be over, or this NAM will be over. So once we have defined na foreign policy, antarjatiya siddhantam nadi idi anes define chesin tarvata, once I have defined that my foreign policy is this, who has defined it? Different phases it has defined. During Jawaharlal Nehru, he said that this is my foreign policy. Indira Gandhi has come and she has changed her father's foreign policy, and she has introduced a new foreign policy altogether. So if Jawaharlal Nehru, look at this, theories of IR. Jawaharlal Nehru went with a theory called idealism. Ideal ga undali foreign policy lo anesi. But what Indira Gandhi said, idealism is not going to work. That is the reason why we have seen this many failures. Let's not go with idealist theory. Let's go for realist theory. Hence, what Indira Gandhi did is, we started going for realist theory here. After that, we have went ahead and we have seen this, the next one, that is called, during Dr. Manmohan Singh, we have went with this theory that is called neoliberal theory or functional theory. There is one theory, functional theory. And the last component that we went ahead is, we went ahead with this component that is called, during Narendra Modi's term, neo-realism. Indira Gandhi realism cheste in neo-realist principles. This is how they have divided. This is how they have divided the relations. So the entire discussion, whatever you are going to have, that is going to be discussed in this component. Whatever we discuss, that is going to be present here. So IGP paper 2 IR, it will be covered here. Entire IR paper discussion will be there. Right, this is what they have given. Ikkadato ayipoyin tarvata next time ichadu, countries madhya kaadu, in the institutions how we are playing a crucial role. What is India's position in the United Nations? That is what they have given. What is India's stance on nuclear policy? Because it is a global concern. And the last one is recent developments. What are the latest changes in India's foreign policy? So like this, they have given 8 topics. First is 10, second is 11, 21 topics in paper 1. Next here is somewhere around 19 topics in paper 2, total 40 topics. The only thing is, you should understand what is the link. Link ఏ విధంగా ఉంది అని understand చేసుకుంటే that topic is going to be over. So I'll stop here. Next week I'll take 2 more classes if possible. There I'll discuss in detail whatever I have said. I will also show how to go ahead with it. Meanwhile, what you do is, just look at the previous year questions. Like this, you take previous year questions. If you go to Xerox Center and if you ask them, they are going to give it previous year questions of PSIR, paper 1, paper 2. Just look at how the questions are being framed. Right, in my next class, the dates will be announced to you very soon. So they will be having. In my next week, I have another class at this moment. Thanks for joining. We'll meet very soon.